We got a situation developing out there in the Gulf. It's quite a distance away. It's out there around the Yucatan Peninsula. So it's still a whiles off there. But they may be looking at a landfall here. Let me see if I can look at it here. They're possibly looking at a landfall uh, early morning Thursday, around 3 a.m. That is the estimates there. Possibly in the area of Tampa. This is what the projected path is for this hurricane. It's a Category 5, extremely dangerous. It's an extremely dangerous hurricane here. I've gone through Category 5. Andrew was a Category 5. And it's extremely dangerous for anybody in that area. Now, this could change. Weather systems always change. I've seen Category 5 approach Florida and make a turn, go straight up north. And we didn't get hit over Miami. So this, I've seen this a couple times. But it was still a ways off here. But the good thing about it gives you enough times to prepare for the possible hurricane hit. All right. I'll be right back. I'll be back right after this little music break, and we're going to be talking about this, and we'll be talking about my experience in having to do with hurricane Category 5s, and I'll also give you some tips and ideas on how to prepare and what you should be looking for. And I got a lot of experience with hurricanes. I've also done work with the DoD, and I've also served a lot of time overseas. So I got a lot of experience in different things having to do with safety and preparedness and all this kind of stuff. So maybe some tips could actually help you out. I'll be back right after I play a little bit of music. I'll be right back.
I was lost and incomplete. I didn't know where I should go. 1,000 pounds upon my soul, and you came from nowhere, and everything fell into place. You make it better every day. You take me away. And the You know I was so lost, I felt so incomplete. I had nowhere to go, so heavy in my soul. Until you came to me, you came out of thin air. It all fell into place. You take me away.
Okay, we're back here again. I had to cut that song a little short. I'm trying to get this going here. We got quite a lot of activity here going on. I know there's a lot of people out there thinking that there may be somebody behind all this activity. You know, I can't say yes or no to that. But we do have a serious situation developing right here, and that is this hurricane, the Milton, that is heading in the direction of Tampa. All right, it's still a couple thousand miles away here. It looks like about 1,500. Let me see where it's at here. How far? No, let's see how far it is here. It is a Category 5 hurricane. It's right off the Yucatan Peninsula, and it's forecast to head in towards Florida. Right now, the forecast models. There's quite a few models. It's just not one hurricane model. Now, I am from Florida. I've been through Category 5s. The reason I want to be out here today is I want to give you my experience going through a Category 5. And I'm not talking about somebody that was 100 miles away from the hurricane. No, I've been through the eye of the storm of Andrew. And I have a lot of experience dealing with that and natural disasters. I have done work with the Department of Defense. And I've also done a lot of work overseas. So I have a background in survival and I have a background in security. All right. And protection, protecting your assets. So what I'm going to talk here about is today is how to possibly prepare for this kind of hurricane. This is an extremely dangerous hurricane, but it may not come ashore as a Category 5. It may actually come, it could lower down to a Category 4, Category 3. Anything above like Category 3, Category 4, and definitely Category 5 is an extremely dangerous hurricane. And if you're in the Tampa Bay area right now, you should really be keeping an eye on this. It's scheduled to make landfall at the trajectory is at right now around Thursday morning time, early morning time, 3 a.m. in the morning. That's about the schedule is for. Now this can change, and it probably will change, and it may go up a little higher. It may go up. It may come down a little lower, depending on the weather systems above it. All right. Over here we got. Let me see what we got on this side. Over here you can see it a little bit more clear. You do see there. This is the wind you can see being fed into it from different directions, and it's kind of like this wind is actually this basically it's like upper high wind. It's going to keep it around this area, and it's going to continue to swing it this way. You see like an opening in here. All right, now depending on what's coming out here, if you have any kind of front coming in here, then if you have a front up here, it will push it more towards the south. If there's a weak front, it's just going to continue to move in that direction. So I think this is the way they got it forecasted, and the way they got it forecast. But it's extremely dangerous. All right, if it actually goes into that Tampa Bay area, it will be disastrous for Tampa. You get hit by a major hurricane like a Category 5. I was Hurricane Andrew. In Hurricane Andrew, and I got hit by that Category 5, and it looked like the atomic bomb, the one they dropped in Japan, went off. All right, it looked horrible. It was a total disaster. People lost their homes. Some people lost their lives, and it was nothing but it was horrible. I lived around 8 months without power, and basically in a really tight situation. So if you're in Tampa, you should be thinking what you're going to do next here. It seems like you still have some time here to make a decision. I mean, you could still watch it here for another 20 hours or so. But if you're planning on leaving the state, the earlier you do, the better. If you got a second home somewhere else, and you can say, well, maybe I'll pack up and go. If I'm in a situation where I have some money, and I have another home somewhere else, why stay there in Florida? Just go ahead and board up the house and Don't take a chance. Now there are people. There's a lot of people that just not going to be able to do that. They have one home and it's right there in the past, you could say, of this hurricane. Now you see there are lines up here and there are lines down here because there's a lot of models zigzagging all over this place here, you could say, and some models put it up north, all right, and some models put it down towards the south. So this one, they seem to, quite a few models seem to agree more on this path right here. All right, so not necessarily means it's going to follow that path. It could end up going more towards the south or going more to the north. So if you're like in the Palm Beach or Fort Lauderdale area, this should concern you. If you are here in Fort Myers and in the area, also of course Tampa and all that area there, Cape Coral in that area, that should all definitely concern you because that is getting close to that pass. All right, over here is more of a wider pass. It seems to go all the way from around Palm Beach all the way to Jacksonville. All right, so if you're in the East Coast, that is what you should be looking at, possibly to prepare yourself. Now, what it is forecast. If you look at the forecast here on the East Coast, they're saying that it'll be downgraded possibly to like a category 1. Let's say if it hits as a category 5, and they are actually thinking that it was going to hit more like a category 4 Tampa, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it'll probably spend out some of that energy out here in the Gulf, and by the time it gets to Tampa, it may have spent out some of the energy, and you could see a category 3 hurricane. So going across the state is going to lose a lot of that energy from the ocean, from the Gulf, and they believe that will be down to a category 1. This could then turn into some kind of a flooding event in the middle of the state towards Orlando over here. It could be a flooding situation developed there. If you're making any plans to come to Disney World or come down to Florida, I really will keep an eye on this because if it's anywhere near Wednesday or Thursday, you may want to think about going to Acapulco or something. You may not want to come in that direction. All right, so that might not be the ideal time to come down to Florida. The Disney World is right here in the center. That's right in Orlando, right around that, right in that area. So it's basically in the heart of the path of the hurricane is where Disney World is at. Now, they predicted it will be a Category 1 by the time it gets to the East Coast, but it starts off as a Category 3 hitting Tampa. So if you kind of cut that in the middle, you'll be looking at a Category 2 for the Orlando area. You might be looking at Category 2. But the thing is, these kind of hurricanes spin off sometimes a lot of tornadoes. All right, and this could cause a lot of damage. So if you're not familiar with, if you just want to come to Disney or come to one of the tourist areas of Florida, you may reconsider this right now. All right, this is something to really keep an eye on before you make any of these kind of plans, and and think about the safety of your family, yourself. The problem also you have with a hurricane entering the middle of the state here is you got people trying to make a decision. Are they going to go south or are they going to go north? Because if you're living in the Tampa area, you might say, well, maybe I'll come down towards Miami and stay in Miami for a while as this clears. But the problem is, if it turns more towards the right, then you're going to see where it could come down lower and maybe even possible into Fort Lauderdale or even as far as Miami. We've seen these things do some crazy things. Hurricanes do some crazy things. If you ever go and look at the history of hurricanes, you see some of the most crazy stuff a hurricane does. All right, and if you're up here, if you're also in Tampa, you say, well, I'll go towards more Tallahassee. Remember that the Panhandle was hit by a hurricane a couple of weeks. It hasn't been that long since it got hit by a hurricane. It's been about a week and something I guess, since they've been hit by a hurricane. So they got a lot of damage already in the Panhandle from this hurricane. And up in those 5 states up there, they also got a lot of damage. So you're going to go from one place to another area. They may have power problems. They may have infrastructure problems. They may be already flooded with a lot of rescue people in that area. So you got to be really careful the direction you're going to pick here to travel. You should go and do your research on the internet Uh, find out what are the road conditions and the areas that you might be planning on going. That you may be planning getting your car and going in those areas as a place to hold. You could say before this hurricane comes on shore. All right. But that is the projected path of this hurricane. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small break here. I want to play a little bit of music, and I'll be right back. And I'm going to give you some of my tips on how I survived these hurricanes and maybe some tips that could help you out. If you're an elderly person, you may want to listen to some of this stuff. Other people might have with families will like to, I will say listen to this stuff. Like I said, I got a lot of experience. I've gone through quite a few hurricanes, probably possibly around 5 hurricanes and 2 major hurricanes. So I have some experience when it comes to this kind of stuff. And because I done work with the Department of Defense, and I understand some of their frustrations and why they take so long sometimes to get their gear and get their act in gear, you could say. But I will explain all that, and we'll talk more about that. And when I come back, okay, I'll be back in about a couple minutes here. We're just gonna play a little bit of music here, and I'll be back after this. Okay, we're back here again. Thank you guys for joining me. We're looking at a Category 5 hurricane has developed right off the Yucatan Peninsula. It's about 200 miles per hour. Winds gusting to about 200 miles an hour. If you're out there in a boat, I feel sorry for you. You shouldn't be out there nowhere near this thing. I can imagine the size of the waves are probably, huge, 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 huge waves in that area. I was talking about before we went on the break here and listened to one of the tunes out here that if you're planning on any kind of vacation into Florida, you should probably think that one over because this could be a week where everything's going to change here in Florida. You should consider your trip to Florida, especially if you're going into the Orlando area, into some of the theme parks in that area. All right, I think some of the theme parks will probably put some kind of warning or some kind of statement out, and they will probably have to do it in the next. I will think in the next 40 hours. They'll have to less than that. They'll have to probably 30 hours. They'll have to put up something because if this thing continues on the projected path, you're looking at a strike on Tampa, but it's predicted to hit Tampa at a Category 3. That's a prediction. It could change. It could stay as a Category 5, or it could go down even lower. If you're in Tampa right now, you really should consider the whole thing about getting yourself ready for a strike here. All right, because even if it went up 50 miles north or 100 or 100 almost 100 miles north, you're still going to get some really bad winds. And it could be still damaging to the Tampa area, whether they go north or south. All right. Hurricane models, for the most part, for years have gotten better. So these are getting a lot better the way they predict models. It wasn't going back into the 90s and 80s where hurricane models were a little bit more wild. These models are getting better every year. All right, predictions on where hurricanes are going to strike. All right, as you know, there's been already a strike on the panhandle of Florida, not only a couple days ago, and now we're looking at this major hurricane. There are other systems out here that you can see them out here. All right, and it looks like we're under some kind of attack here by hurricanes if you look at it. You got a system all the way out here, but this is way up there in the North Atlantic Ocean. You got another one out here right off somewhere off the coast of Boston, really far. And then you got this one here. This will be the one that we keep an eye on, but this seems to going. It looks like it's going to turn and head east. So and head northeast. All right, so it may not be a problem. So the biggest problem here is going to be this one here that we're looking at here. And the winds, you can see where the winds are blowing here, the directions of the winds where it's all going. All right, so that to prepare. I mean, if you're looking at this, you're looking at the models. You're in Tampa, you're in Cape Coral there, or you're like in the Naples area, or all on the coast, all along the west coast of Florida. You should really start thinking about what is it, what is you going to do next. I'm sure right now it's pretty much people are just monitoring. Maybe some people are not taking any action. But I've seen their models before. The last model they had was pretty good, and the hurricane did hit pretty much in the area they were claiming. So I will say, pay attention to some of these to your weather here. If you have a business, you should also start looking at it. What you're going to do with your business, how you're going to secure your business. If you got boats along the west coast, any kind of boats, also best time to move boats is when there's no, big waves out there, and you got to find a place, possibly inland. You can go in and move your boat towards inland. Take one of the rivers or whatever. They can probably move them inland or move them out of the harm's way. All right, so it's not going to be easy. A Category 5 is extremely destructive storm. The amount of energy on a Category 5, you'll be amazed. Like I said, I've been through Category 5 hurricane has been extremely disastrous. All right. And the winds, a wind of 200 miles an hour, or gusting to 200 miles an hour, will bend steel. All right. I've seen entire tennis courts with all the steel tubes. I'm talking about these massive steel tubes that hold the netting up, and the whole thing bended like somebody came and some big Godzilla came and just bended the tube. All right. And bended all the way to the ground. And garbage cans, these big giant garbage, tanks that they use, being thrown around like the toys and truck. I'm talking about big trucks, moving type of trucks, ending up on someone's roof. So this stuff does happen. It is extremely dangerous. Those winds are very, very dangerous. Homestead Air Force Base, when Hurricane Andrew hit it, they lost, I don't know how many F-16s they lost in Homestead Air Force Base, and they had hangars. Their hangars got damaged, and these is military who's got a lot of hardened shelters and places to protect their stuff, and they got screwed up. They moved their planes before Hurricane Andrew came, but I guess they might have been planes that were on the ground. It might have been planes that they couldn't move for whatever reason, or they had to keep them there in case of anything. But a lot of those planes got trashed. All right. So it was like I said, it appeared, if you actually look at Hurricane Andrew right after, I'm talking about right after it passed, it looked like one of those Hiroshima bombs dropped on it. That place, if you actually took it and you actually showed that to somebody, and you say, look, this is a bomb drop here, and they will actually believe it because that's what it looked like. All the many of the roofs in the homes were gone. All right, and there was debris all over the place. And most of the trees were flattened. All right, for many, many years, South Miami really had a lot of their trees were damaged, flattened. The landscape looked weird, looked strange, and it really did a lot of damage there. All right, Now, the Hurricane Andrew was not really a flooding event. It was more of a wind event, extremely high winds. We're looking at a Category 5 hurricane. As I said earlier today, because today, actually today I was talking about hurricanes. If you live in a trailer park, well, get out. Do not stay in a trailer park. Do not stay in any kind of trailer or one of these prefab, one of these homes that are just like a trailer, because you could suffer major disaster in these kind of homes. There are homes out there that are stronger. They do make pre homes that are stronger, and they have more of a strong foundation. But when it comes to trailers, these are extremely dangerous. And don't wait till the last minute to make plans to get out of your trailer. You should start thinking by now, if something was to come in your area, where are you going to go if you live in a trailer? You have a relative somewhere you can go and stay for a couple of days, or you can maybe stay some hotel somewhere or get out of the way. But you do not. I'm going to tell you right now, you do not want to be inside of a trailer when a Category 5 hits. All right. If you get a direct hit from a Category 5 and you're in the trailer, your chances of survival are slim. All right, you'll get hit by everything on that trailer. All right, when that wind comes through. I seen an entire trailer park, and it wasn't one. It was a couple of trailer parks in South Miami. They got obliterated. It looked like Godzilla came in there and picked up every trailer and just shredded it all. It looks like trailers actually look like they went through a shredding machine. All right. And there was supposed to have been a total of quite a few people have lost their life in those trailer parks. All right, so that's something you don't want to be is in a trailer park, any kind of trailer. If you're in that kind of a situation where a Category 5 is going to go right over your head, you should start really thinking about moving somewhere else. I'm going to be talking more about this, about some supplies and other things. Right after we play a tune here, one or two tunes, and we'll talk more about this. And like I said, I have a lot of experience when it comes to hurricanes. Okay, we're back here again, and we're talking about this Hurricane Milton that is heading in our direction. If you're in Florida, it'll be heading in your direction. It seems like it will be making landfall according to the trajectory. This is like one of the latest trajectories. It's going to be like late Thursday or early, we could not late, but early morning hours on Thursday, around 3 a.m. in the morning. If it stays on the trajectory as they have put here, which many of the models seem to agree that that is around the area the hurricane is going to come in, you're looking at a strike on Tampa. All right. Now this could change. Like I said, it could go 50 miles up, 50 miles down, or even 100 miles up and 100 miles down. It all depends on what goes on between now and Thursday morning. We'll see what the trajectory could change. All right. It's also they believe that it will come in as a Category 3, not a Category 5. That's what they believe. We have to pray it doesn't come in as a Category 5. You're a lot better going through a Category 3 than a Category 5. Trust me, I've gone through Category 3, Category 2s, a couple of them, and of course Category 5 being Hurricane Andrew. And there's a big difference between Category 5 and a Category 3. All right. You can get some good damage on a Category 3, but stuff that you could live with and fixing. Your power will probably be up in a couple of days. A Category 5 hurricane, like I went in Hurricane Andrew, that it took me 8 months to get my power back, and I was living like I was living back in the caveman days, and I was living off MREs. All right, so this could happen there in Tampa. If you're in Tampa, you're really going to have to consider your options here. What is it you want to do? Where do you want to go? Start calling family members out of the state in case of anything you have to go. This I do not want to. If I'll tell you the truth, if I'm in Tampa, I don't want nothing to do with this hurricane. I will be considering my options right now. All right, I will be contacting my family members. They might live up north, or even way south, maybe down towards the Miami area, or who knows where. But if you're in the Miami area, this is one bad thing about it. If you're planning on going south, and this thing goes south towards the Miami area, and it's coming down at a weird angle, you might not be able to go back up north. All right, so you run out of country, unless you want to go to Cuba or something. So so that's the bad part about it. But if you go right now and you go up north, you're going to run into those states that have been hit by the other hurricane that we just had about a week and a half ago. All right, you're going to run into that hurricane. All right, so that's going to be another problem because a lot of those roads are jammed up with emergency vehicles. They have a lot of infrastructure problems. So you got to see which of these roads have been damaged, which counties have been damaged, which areas you can probably snake your way through to go wherever you're going up north. All right, I'm sure there are some places that are still okay. They haven't been damaged, that you might be able to be okay. But it did go up and hit about 5 states up north. So make sure you do your research because things are getting very serious here. Okay, when it comes to this kind of hurricane. Anybody out there on a boat should really get out. Anybody out there on the boat in the line of sight of this hurricane, or you could say getting anywhere near this boat, get out of there. Now, how will you survive this? Let's say you do decide to hunker down in Tampa. You want to stay there. I had a lot of family members who stayed in their homes, and they thought they had nice strong roofs and roof joists and the whole 9 yards. I would say a good percentage. There's one area of Miami that was called Leisure City, still called Leisure City, and Homestead. That whole area, I will say a good, possibly 80% of the roof were damaged. All right, some roofs were completely torn off the home. Once the roof gets torn out of the home, everything in your house gets gutted out. All right, by the high winds, almost nothing remains. All right, inside everything gets really screwed up. All right, so you may be in a home in Tampa. You say, well, I'm in a home. It's got a strong concrete foundation, and I think I could be okay, but you never know these things. It only takes a couple of weak parts in your home, and the hurricane is going to make toast out of your home. It's basically going to put your home through a shredder. All right, a Category 5 is nothing to play with. Category 5, it is extremely dangerous. All right. You can get away with playing games for the Category 1, Category 3, maybe a Category 3. But anything above Category 3, Category 4, Category 5 especially, you're not going to be playing games with that. All right, that's extremely dangerous. All right, that thing will flip cars, entire semi-trailers will throw them around like toys. And homes, they felt like they were secure. You thought they were secure. Get totally wiped out. All right. So, and if you're on the coast, right on the coast where you might have, where you have the water coming in, that's going to be even worse. All right, if it's high tide, it's going to push all that water right over your property, right over your home. And I actually seen in Miami where entire foundations, the home was gone. It wasn't there anymore. All that was left was the foundation of the house, who were right, you could say very close to the coast, totally wiped out. All right, so don't you have to really make a lot of plans here. You should have plans to get out. If you're gonna hunker down, make sure you're in some structure that could withstand a Category 5 if it stays at Category 5. At Category 3, it's a lot less than a Category 5, but it'll still do some major damage. All right, so you want to hunker down somewhere where it's strong enough to survive Category 5 or Category 3. All right, Category 5, you're looking at it, the winds could gust up to over 200 miles an hour. This said Homestead Air Force Base. I believe there was one time they said that they lost their wind gauge at around 200. After that, they don't know what it was. If the winds went up any higher than that. All right, so during Hurricane Andrew, they probably got that whole base got toast after Hurricane Andrew. Matter of fact, I think once they rebuilt Homestead Air Force Base, they actually had to make it smaller because it was going to cost more money to build it to rebuild the full base. So, and that's a military base. So you got to think about your structure, your home. How can you survive this? You got to start looking at. You should make a list. You should have a plan A, plan B, plan C. All right, you should have a couple of plans here. Your plan. If you're going to hunker down, okay, make sure how you're going to secure these windows. How you're going to secure anything that could let air inside your home that could pop your roof out or create a vacuum. Because sometimes what happens is a vacuum gets created from all the air rushing right across your windows that is already damaged, and it starts to suck things out. It doesn't start blowing things in, it starts to suck things out. I had a friend of mine during Hurricane Andrew that his furniture was being sucked out of his apartment. It was actually literally being sucked out of his apartment. You're going to feel Category 5, unlike other storms. You're going to feel like you're up in some jumbo plane, up like 4,000 feet. You're going to feel that pressure in you'll feel that pressure when it comes down in your ear. I actually suffered for quite a few years with one of my ears got damaged during that hurricane, and I had this infection. It just wouldn't go away, you could feel the pressure in your ear as it got closer and closer. That's how bad that was. All right, so it can be a heck of an experience. I'll be right back. We're going to be talking more about this hurricane as it barrels down there in the Gulf area and starts moving closer to Florida. I'll be back in about a minute or two, then play a little tunes here, and I'll be back.
Well, here we are, living in the moment, and here we are, dreaming in the open. Look around, isn't this a new day? Make a move, doing things a new way. A new way. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Look ahead, we can see forever. You and me doing it together. Light it up, we can be a million stars. Look at us, don't you see we've come so far? Yeah, we've come so far. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time, and these are our plans. We're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Standing at the crossroads, This is our time. These are our plans. We're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. This is our world. And this is our time. And these are our plans. We're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. We won't stop dreaming.
Okay, we're back here again. We're talking about this Hurricane Milton heading towards Tampa, and that's the projected path is towards Tampa. It seems like it's projected to hit Tampa around early morning, Thursday morning, around 3 a.m. Of course, this more than likely will change. It's predicted to possibly go into that Tampa area as a Category 3. We cannot. I don't think the Weather Channel could guarantee that. I think it could change. It could actually get weaker or it could get stronger. If you're in the Tampa area, should be extremely concerning to you and your family, and you should already start making some plans. And the reason why you need to make some plans right now, if you're in the Tampa area, if you're thinking of leaving the state, the panhandle of Florida was just hit by a hurricane, and there's a lot of infrastructure problems in that area, and there are power outages and all kind of situations happening in those 5 states that they were hit. So if you're planning on leaving Tampa, you're planning on going north, all right, you got to really start doing a little bit of research on the internet to see what is up there and what roads can you take that you won't run into too much backup, too much traffic backup, because there's a lot of power companies and emergency vehicles and supplies being shipped into those areas. All right, if you're going to go south, you're going to go towards Miami, Fort Lauderdale. If you look down here at the bottom, this is around where Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale area is at, and that is where the furthest south trajectory of the hurricane forecast is at. All right, so the hurricane could follow you towards Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach. All right, and I've seen hurricanes do some wild things where they gone, they projected that they go this way and actually gone, even further down south or further up north. So keep an eye on that. You should have a list. Make a list. Take things the calm way. Know that people are going to bum rush, Home Depot or Lowe's. Let me tell you one thing about putting plywood on your windows. It can work. It can save some of your windows. It can save stuff from penetrating and going into your home. Some of it can actually work. All right. Now the price of plywood, I know it's gone through the ceiling. All right. And a lot of the wood stuff is gone through the ceiling. All right. So for those people that don't have these kind of homes that have the protective windows or have the steel shutters, and you still want to put something on there, yeah, I know there's some people that put plywood, but I've seen people take that particle plywood, and it doesn't really survive. Particle plywood is not a good idea to put on your windows if you're going to have something like a Category 5 hit you. You probably disintegrate. All right. And plywoods can become projectiles too for anybody driving down the highway. So if you're driving down the highway, there's a lot of homes with plywood. Be careful, because at any moment one of those plywoods could rip out of one of those homes and come flying towards you. All right, so you got to be really careful with that. Now, plywoods. There are individuals that know how to install plywood that could actually protect the window. And they usually use some kind of screws that will anchor into the cement, okay, into the building. All right. Other people will nail them in with some cement nails, and that might not last too long. The problem is when high winds are hitting your window that's covered with plywood, it's vibrating. You can feel the vibration on it. All right, your plywood is being vibrated, and if it's not a it's not a long nail, it's not a long cement nail, it's going to loosen that nail. All it takes is a couple of nails being loosened, the wind getting underneath that plywood, and it's going to rip it out of there. With Category 5, will just rip it out of there. All right. And then you'll lose your window. Once you lose your window, you lose your plywood, and that air starts getting inside your home. I could actually pop the window, pop the roof out. Roof off. You're not going to have no more roof. All right. If they have done, the construction of that building is not up to code, or they have done, or the contractor did a bad job, and your roof could be in some serious trouble. You could end up losing your home. Now, after Hurricane Andrew and some other hurricanes that have hit Florida, they have the codes have been enforced a lot stronger, and there have been better codes when it comes to construction. And I think some construction companies may have learned some lessons also, that they could be liable for some from shoddy construction. All right. So, but good luck with that, taking them to court. All right. So always keep in mind that if you're going to use plywood and this kind of stuff to protect your homes, it doesn't mean you're going to be 100% secure. If you never have put up plywood to protect your home, you should find somebody who knows what they're doing and what they're talking about. Like I said, one of the best things that really work, if you use some kind of anchor screw, they can go deep into the cement and really anchor those screws in there to hold it in place. All right, cement nails don't tempt to hold too good, and anything with compressed or particle board does a bad job when it comes to boarding up your home with plywood. That's another one you're going to have to consider if you're going to use a plywood. All right. Now, if you're using, a steel shutters, that's a great thing. Some steel shutters, if you have a steel shutter that has a good thickness, the steel is thick, you can be protected. There's a lot of flying debris. A Category 5 can really launch some nasty debris at your home, all kind of stuff. And in windows, you should stay away from windows if you get hit by a Category 5 or Category 4 hurricane. All right. Another way is, once you do put something on your window, let's say even if you put steel on your window, you put some steel shutters, you may still want to protect yourself. You can always take a mattress and throw it over the window in case something did penetrate the steel. The mattress might end up catching also some of that stuff. It could help out. All right. Now, you can get flooding on a lot of these events. I've actually been flooded a couple times by hurricanes. And they were low hurricanes. They were like Category 3, Category 2 hurricanes. The Category 5 hurricane didn't flood, but what it did is it did a lot of damage. A lot of damage. All right. So, yeah, flooding, it's if you got carpet in the house, it's going to, you get flooding, and that's going to be an issue if you allow the carpet to stay wet. And it will you have mold that starts to grow really fast around your house. Your sheetrock and all this starts getting this green mold or black mold. All right. One of the ways that you can get rid of that is, I use bleach. Is what I use. When I was flooded on one of the hurricanes I went through, was a Category 2, Category 3. And what I did is not to have to replace all the sheetrock. The sheetrock was still pretty much intact. It was beginning to grow mold, and mold can infect your entire home in a very short time. Use some water and bleach to spray it onto the mold that kills the mold right away. All right, so that's one thing that you can use to kill mold. And there are other things out there you can probably kill mold with. All right. And if you have a carpet that has been drowned by a flood and a lot of mud has come into the home, and the carpet's got all that mud, you don't want that carpet in there. It can really stink up the place, and it can also be a health hazard. You really want to get that carpet out of there. A lot of homes in Miami and South Miami, and also in Fort Lauderdale, they have a lot of tile floors. And people try to avoid carpets especially you're on the ground floor or somewhere. If you're living in a high-rise, you got issues. And I'm going to tell you, I was in a high-rise saving people during Hurricane Andrew. All right, one of my jobs was out there to pull people out of the middle of a hurricane, out of a high-rise. All right, and I had a three-man team, and that wasn't enough because we were spread out. And eventually we had to get people, civilians, to help us out to get people out of the situation they found themselves in a high rise. And there were some individuals that were caught up on the 8th floor, 7th floor. And the higher you go in a hurricane, the higher your high rise is or condominium is, and the higher you're up on floors, the stronger the wind is. All right. So that keep that in mind. If you're in a condominium somewhere there in Tampa, and this thing is it's going to hit your area. You don't want to be anything above a fourth floor. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're up there in the 7th floor, 8th floor, 10th floor, 14th floor, whatever the deal is. The higher you are, you're going to have some serious issues. We got up to an apartment that was up on the 8th floor. The lady that was trapped in her apartment couldn't get out. All her windows were blown away. The wind was trying to suck her out of the apartment. Her stuff was being literally sucked out of the apartment. We couldn't get in. All right, and she unlocked the door, but the pressure was she was having so much suction in her apartment that we couldn't open the door. All right, we actually had to go through the sheetrock, use what they call a PR-24, to basically make a hole through the sheetrock. All right, and then what happened is once we make the hole through the sheetrock, it started to equalize the pressure within the apartment, and we were able to finally push the door open. I literally grabbed that lady. She was basically almost halfway naked, and I threw her into the hallway. I told her, "Get the hell out of here. Get out now." And before we got to her, in order to get to her, to save her out of the situation that she was in, because all we could hear was the yelling. We knew there was somebody up on the 8th floor yelling and screaming for help. And the only way we could get to her was we had to go through a maze of torn down sheetrock and aluminum studs and all kind of stuff, and debris was flying all over the place. And by the time we got to her, we put together like a volunteer team of men. We had around we had my crew of about 3 people, and then we got around another 7 more people to help us out. And we literally had to push the sheetrock, you could say, up to get through. A lot of this sheetrock, we had to move it out of the way to get there. It took a while to get to her. When we finally got to her, we were able to get her out of her apartment. And then at the same time, in the same building, we get a call that there was somebody on the 6th floor that was in a wheelchair. If you're a handicap, if you're somebody who's got some kind of handicap, let me tell you, you really should be in a shelter for a hurricane. If you get into a Category 5, all right. If you're up in a high rise and you're in a wheelchair, and the place starts to cave in you, rescue's going to have a hard time getting up. A very hard time getting up. All right. And we went through hell trying to get these individuals out of the building. And then on top of that, at one point we had a gas station that seemed to have had propane gas. I had a big giant tank of propane gas, and that propane gas somehow started to leak, and the entire area we were in was embedded with propane gas smell. And everybody was afraid that if we lit up a match, the whole place was going to blow up like a bomb. All right, make sure that if you're living in a place that you have propane gas, any kind of gas, that's turned off. Usually the company goes out there before a hurricane starts turning off a lot of these gas pipes out. Okay, they'll start turning them off. All right, so that's another thing to keep an eye on. All right, and we went, like I say, that was probably one of the worst nights of my life, going through a hurricane. I feel like more like I was in a war zone in that hurricane. And if you're up in a high rise, I'm going to tell you right now, don't make plans to stay in a high rise on a Category 5. Do not think about staying in your high rise if you're going to go through a Category 5. All right, this is predicted to hit Tampa Bay as a Category 4. All right, so really make some plans here. If you're along the coast in some kind of high rise, you don't want to stay in a high rise. All right, you want to maybe secure the high rise, do what you can to secure the windows. If you got storm shutters, put the storm shutters up, but don't stay there. All right, because you could end up like it wasn't one person we rescued that day. We rescued quite a few people, and I got a couple nails stuck in my hand Because some people have the habit of hanging little trinkets on their doors. And when I was knocking on the doors, I didn't see the nails. I was just banging on those doors to get. You can't almost hear nobody in a hurricane. Now, Category 5, you have to practically scream your lungs out to talk to the person next to you. All right. So I was trying to yell at these people on the other side of these doors, and I really didn't know if there was somebody there or not. They're supposed to have actually evacuated the building way before the hurricane came. And then later on, we found out there was about 20 people trapped in the building. So, and I remember banging my hands on some of these doors with these nails that stuck in my hands. I went in there. I didn't look what I was doing, and knocking doors down and pulling people by their hairs, because people sometimes they're in shock. All right. And you're trying to get them out of an extremely dangerous situation. They see their stuff being sucked out the window, and they're there. They're not. They're just there like deers in a headlight. All right. They're in panic, but they're just in shock. So you got to sometimes wake them out of the shock. And I literally threw people out into the hallway. I just went in there, grabbed them, and threw them in the hallways. They just go down the stairway, go down the emergency stairways. The elevators on that one high rise that we're in, both elevators were smashed on the floor. On the first floor, they have somehow the gear that was on the roof and the all the cable that was holding the elevator up, all that got blown away. So along came down the elevators, all smashed down there on the first floor. All right, so it was a disastrous thing, and I'm glad that no fire broke out. That we didn't have some kind of fire. That would have been the icing on the cake if it would have had a fire broke out. Now there were buildings, and there were homes, and there were business that did catch on fire. Nobody going to come out there to turn off your fire during a major hurricane. It's just going to burn. And if you're inside one of those buildings, don't expect anybody going to rescue. Get out. Try to get out, somehow, because more than likely rescue's not going to make it to you. All right. I'll be right back. I'll tell you more about this Hurricane Andrew that I went through, and we're going to be talking more about how to make yourself safe during one of these hurricanes. I'm going to play a little music, and I'll be right back in a few here. And also, please, if you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up and the whole 9 yards. It helps me with the algorithms. This is a brand new channel. I had no idea there was hurricanes were going to show up. And I was going to be talking about different things. And since I actually put up this channel in the last couple of days, it seems like all I can talk about is hurricanes. All right. So I'll be back, and we're going to play a little music here, and I'll be back, and we're going to be talking more about this.
Stand up alone and fight. Wanna be by your side.
Okay, we're back here again. I'd like to thank anybody's watching this video, or anybody, yeah, hopefully be watching this video. We're talking about the Hurricane Milton that's heading towards the Tampa area, possibly making landfall sometime on Thursday morning, around 3 a.m. around the Tampa area. What you see there is the projected path of the hurricane. All right, and around the time it's going to hit. Now this could change. It's quite far still. It's also predicted that it will go all the way across Florida, possibly in the Orlando area, and will come out somewhere out there around Daytona area. It will come out, and by then it'll probably be like a Category 1. If you're in Florida, you should be making plans to get ready for this event. Anything that's a hurricane with Cat 4 strength or going up to a Category 5, you don't want to be in the way of this stuff. Or if you are going to be there, you got to stay no matter what. Then you want to be able to survive this thing. Category 5s are extremely destructive. You cannot compare a Category 5 with a Category 3. I'll tell you that right now. All right. I've been through a Category 5, Category 3, and two Category 2 hurricanes. And the two Category 2s, what they caused was a lot of flooding for me, myself. And the Category 5 was devastating. It was total destruction. It looked like somebody dropped a nuclear bomb in the entire area. That was it. And I'm not talking about going through a Category 5 from a distance. I'm talking about going through a Category 5 where the eye of the storm went right over my head, and that was Hurricane Andrew. All right, so how will you survive? What do you got to be doing now? Now you got to be looking for your exit. If you're planning on leaving Florida, you got to try to leave Florida early before everybody hits the turnpike or hits any of the major roads to get out of Florida. All right, and if you're going to get out of Florida and you're heading north, keep in mind that the Panhandle and some of those states up north have already been hit by a hurricane only a couple days ago. So you know there's going to be some infrastructure problems there, damage you could say. There's going to be a lot of emergency vehicles, and you've got to be careful which state you're planning on going to, because they may not be nothing available at those states, because people who suffer homes that were damaged may be renting some of the hotels and motels in that area, and you might not find anything. So make some really good plans there before you move out of the area you're in Tampa or Orlando to go up north. If you're an elderly person, you got to start checking your medication. Make sure you have enough supplies to last you possibly for the next couple of weeks. If you're especially in the Tampa area, one of the, I've seen entire pharmacies being basically erased, you could say, totally destroyed by a major hurricane like Hurricane Andrew. On top of that, you get a lot of looters out there. Then when a pharmacy gets hit, they come in there and they take just about everything. They clear everything out. All right. So that's another one to keep in mind. If you're somebody who's an elderly person and you depend on medication, make sure you have enough medication to survive for a couple of weeks. To have enough medication for that. If you're on a wheelchair, you should already start thinking about where you're going to go, what kind of shelter you can go to. Don't stay there. Like I was explaining before the break here, the music break, I was talking about how my team had to go rescue these people. They were on this person that was in a wheelchair in a high rise, and it was a heck of a time trying to get this person off of there, especially getting them downstairs. Once we got them out of their home, that was already being blown, their apartment was being blown all over the place, and their walls were collapsing all around them. Then we had to get them down off that. I believe that person was on like the 6th or 7th floor, and get them down to an area that was more safer. And the only thing they actually survived any kind of major damage was the stairway of that building. Okay, usually they're built pretty strong. And most of the people, that's where they were at. They were hunkering down in the stairways of that building. In a high rise, that's probably would be one of the most safest place is the stairway. But you don't want to be on anything that's above, the 4th or 5th floor. The higher you go on the high rise, like I said, the more danger is going to be, and the winds are a lot more stronger. All right, so if you're in a condominium, you really got to make plans. If you're along the coast and you're in the condominium and you're close to that Tampa area or close to where the impact is going to be, even on the Category 3, you don't want to stay in any kind of a high rise. You want to get out of that high rise. If you're definitely staying in a mobile home, you really got to make plans to get out of that. Mobile homes are extremely, extremely dangerous to get in, to stay in. All right. So going back to the plans here. So you make plans to if you're going to evacuate, you are going to move your family. You make plans now. You don't wait till the last minute to go get gasoline for your car, and then or get fuel for your car, and then hit the road, and you got thousands of people having the same idea you got, and you're in a traffic jam. And you definitely do not want to be caught with your pants down in a traffic jam with a hurricane coming down on you, because you may have to abandon your vehicle, pull to the side of the road. Who knows what the heck could happen? You could even run out of gas waiting so long to move for the traffic to move, and you're gonna have some major rumps. All right. So make plans early if you are going to try to get out from harm's way when it comes to a hurricane is heading in your direction. Right now, you got times to make plans, times to do all this. If you're going to start heading to Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the hardware stores, it's not only you, it's 10,000 other people who are planning to do the same thing. All right, so the price of wood is very expensive for those people that don't have shutters. They are planning to put any kind of wood on their windows. Like I said, don't use particle board because all that stuff disintegrates. They're not that strong. And also use anchor nails or anchor screws if you're going to actually try to nail down some of those boards on your homes, because that probably will survive or could survive. But Category 5s can really rip up a lot of stuff. They can actually take a cement home and just rip it. If you're like along the coast, they can tear that down. I guess I seen like entire homes being where the only thing that was left was the foundation of them. All right, so but that if you're like if you're in an area that you could probably survive, you could be okay even on a Category 5. You're gonna have to really put something. If you're gonna put wood, you're really gonna have to put some washers, some good sized washers, some anchors on there. Put it deep enough into the cement. Well, it'll be hard for anything to pull that wood out. And try to make it as tight as you can, where you have no air coming through any seam. Because once that air gets behind the plywood, it will start vibrating. And you'll be amazed how it vibrates. You hear the and you hear that. It's basically the board vibrating outside. Is what you hear, and all that's loosening your anchors or your nails, whatever you put concrete nails, it will loosen them. And if you lose the board, your window's gonna be exposed. And once your window's exposed, that's gonna go. And let me tell you, during Hurricane Andrew, one of the first things that went with all the windows. I was in a high rise trying to rescue people. And all the windows were gone. I'll be back. I gotta take a small break and grab some drink.
You've tamed the voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test. Laid all your doubts to rest. Your mind is clearer than before. Your heart is full and wanting more. Your future's at the door. Give it all you got. No hesitating. You've been waiting all your life. This is your moment. This is your moment in time. This is your moment. This is your moment to shine, to shine, to shine. So shine on. And every time you hit the wall, remember you can have it all, even the mighty fall. It's closer than it's ever been, and now it's more than just a win. It's where your life begins, yeah. There's no holding back, no overthinking. You've been reaching all your life. This is your moment. This is your moment in time. This is your moment. This is your moment. closer than it's ever been. And now it's more than just a win. It's where your life begins.
Okay, we're back here again. I had to take a small break there. Started to cough something in my throat. So we're talking about how to prepare for this hurricane that might be heading towards Tampa here. This is the projected path that you see here on the hurricane. Every time I take a break, one of my music breaks, I like to tell people who might have came in later what the projected path is, and it's predicted to make landfall, possibly in the Tampa area around early morning hours of Thursday morning, around possibly 3 a.m. That is what's predicting. That's what's predicted. It looked like it could go up about 100 miles north or about 100 miles down south, you could say. So if you're in that area in the path of the hurricane, you really should start looking at this. If it stays a Category 5, I can tell you right now, it will be devastating. You're looking at something that could take years to recover from. All right. If it does get downgraded to a Category 3 by the time it hits the coast, it will be a lot of damage. There'll still be a lot of damage, but it won't be as bad as a hurricane Category 5. As I said, I've been through about 5 hurricanes. I've been through 2 Categories 2 and 1 Category 3 hurricane and a Category 5 hurricane. And I was through another one, I believe it was a Category 1 hurricane. It was not a hurricane one. I live in Florida, so I went through the major hurricane I went through was Hurricane Andrew. My experience in survival, well, I've done work with DOD. Most of my work has to do with protection assets overseas and other type of work that I won't get into. Okay, but here, think about this. If you are at this right now, like I said, before we went on the break of music, you sure start putting together a list of what is it you want to do, and make a plan. But don't make a plan A only and leave it alone. Make yourself a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. All right. Know that if you're like I keep saying this over and over because I think some people don't realize this or don't remember. Some people have short memories. We had a hit on the panhandle of Florida, and about 5 states up north in that area have been hit by this other hurricane that we had about a week ago, a little bit more than a week. You could say so keep an eye on that, because if you're planning on making a road trip to somebody who lives up north, you might run into a lot of traffic issues on the way up. All right, and there may be hotels and places that may not be available because of other people finding places to stay at. All right, there's been a lot of power outages up in that area. So if you're going to plan to get out of the way of this thing and you're planning on making some kind of road trip somewhere, plan early. Possibly you're going to have to move early. If you're going to stay at home, make sure you have enough food supply. All right, water is extremely important. Some people say, why do I have to fill in my bathtub with water? Because some people, no matter what, cannot go and take a dump out by a tree somewhere. They still got to sit on the toilet. So for those people, that's usually the water. The water you use usually on bathtubs is what you're going to use, possibly maybe to do some cooking or to use it to flush the toilet. And if you're going to use the toilet, let me tell you something. And I'm talking stuff because some of this stuff you can say, well, that's no big deal. No, it is big deal. All right. You'll be amazed how some of this stuff comes into play later on after you have gone through a hurricane, how important a toilet all of a sudden becomes. A running toilet, all right? Or toilet paper, all this stuff. Because there's people that actually go and they'll have a large family and everybody wants to people want to use the bathroom, but the toilets ain't working. But you're going to have to conserve water. You don't know where you're going to get. If you're not living by a lake somewhere, you have no way of getting water. And there's no way to flush a toilet. All right, so the water's not going to be running. More than likely, after hurricane Category 5, more than likely water's not going to be running. So you gotta use a bucket to basically throw it in so it can flush the toilet. All right, And if you're living in an apartment complex, you're going to have to be carrying these buckets upstairs, and you're really going to have to really limit the, you can probably, instead of going and flushing the toilet every time you go through there, you might have to leave it there a couple times before you go and flush it. Yeah, it can turn into a smelly situation fast, but it is what it is, people. Food. If you are going to get food, remember anything that's frozen, it may end up being defrost. There's no way of making ice unless you got a refrigerator that's connected to some kind of generator. All right, and that was very important during Hurricane Andrew. But Hurricane Andrew did hit in the middle of August, not in the middle of August, in like the beginning of August, and it was very hot and humid, and people needed ice, and there was a lot of babies crying, a lot of people, elderly people, they just needed to cool down, and there's heat. There was no AC, there's no air conditioning, there's none of that stuff. And so uh, food, and if you're gonna, like I say, if you're gonna have ice, don't you're gonna be only to store that for a day, or maybe or two, if at the most, if you got a good cooler. Or if you got a generator, yeah, you might have a generator that could run your refrigerator or whatever the deal is, and that's going to suck in a lot of power. All right, anything that has a cooling system tied to it's going to suck in a lot of power. All right, so, and you'll get to the point you'll probably run out of gasoline. Once you're out of gasoline, your generator goes off, and that's the end of that, and you're going to have to wait for, like everybody else, to see how you're going to get out of your situation that you're in. All right, but have some dry food, like canned foods, and don't do what I've seen people do. I actually seen one person. I mean, I think they got to consider themselves kind of lucky that they were still alive, because they actually took a can. I think it was probably like a can of beans or something, and they basically had it on like an open fire without the can open, without opening the can. So they basically were making a small bomb, is what. And actually, what happened when it blew up, it was like a small bomb. All right, you don't never cook any kind of can of beans. All right, the can is shut. You have to open it, but I won't even cook it inside of a can of beans. It has like a lining inside the can of beans. There's supposed to be some kind of something that preserves food, and you may end up getting some of that toxic stuff in you that you shouldn't be probably eating. You should try to have some kind of pan that you're going to use, small pan. Small little gas stoves are good, and good to have a little propane tank. All right, because that you can use that to heat up a little bit of milk, and try not to heat up everything all day long. Be heating up stuff. All right. If you're going, you may have to reduce yourself to one meal a day, 2 meals a day. If you're very limited, and you had a major disaster like Miami, let me tell you, a lot of people were going hungry. Were starving after Hurricane Andrew. People that just didn't hoard any kind of supply. They didn't save any kind of supplies, and they didn't know what to eat. All right. And they were going through some hunger during the first 24 hours, 48 hours out. They were going through hunger. All right. So you're gonna have to have some supplies there. Try to conserve your gas propane. You could say, if you're gonna use it to heat up, especially people that have babies, they want to heat up milk and this kind of stuff. You're gonna have to conserve. Make sure that very conservative. You use that. Maybe if you have a couple of neighbors and you have a propane tank and they have some, and then make a meal maybe all together. You kind of divide your supplies, and this could help out. All right. Security does become an issue when it comes to hurricanes. If you're living in an apartment complex that everything got blown out, your windows all blown out, what if you had a fence that was protecting your apartment complex, or some kind of situation like that, a lot of times security in these kind of complex may not even be around no more, because they got their own families to worry, so you're pretty much on your own. And police can't sit there in front of your apartment complex the whole day long. All right, so you may have to take things, get organized. Get a couple of neighbors that can take 12-hour shifts, all right, to protect anybody from coming inside your apartment complex, and protect anybody coming in through the entries. Be careful on closing off exits to a building, all right, because during a time of a hurricane, you could have a fire breakout. There's no firemen may show up. There may be no fire truck showing up, all right. And it could go out of control really fast. And if you have blocked some kind of exit door, and because you're worried about somebody coming through it or using it to burglarize your condominium or whatever, you could find yourself in some hot water later on if somebody ends up dying in that fire. All right, so you want to make sure it's secure, but be careful what is it that you're locking down. All right, and always also try to protect the elderly people who are in these buildings who really have no protection and no way, no kind of help. Sometimes these elderly people don't know what to do. They are lost, and they might be wandering through the hallways in dangerous situations. And you really want to calm them down. Sit down in stay in your apartment if you need. You have to cooperate with people. People that I've seen survive and handle a Category 5 hurricane, the ones that I've seen, like I said, I've been through this Category 5, are people that stay cool. And not only that, but try to help others in a cool manner. Now, I've seen a lot of fights, okay, break out after a major hurricane or major disaster like that, where people get into a panic. They don't know how. They're people. They were very kind and very cool people. They never got in trouble. You'd be amazed how these people can flip out during an event such as getting hit by a Category 5. All right, they'll get into a panic. And they can take it out on other people, and there could be all kinds of things break out. And Florida is known for a lot of weapons and guns and stuff like that. Make sure that if you are got any kind of weapon, that the weapons are secure, all right, and that your family is secure. Yes, YouTube, I'm talking about a weapon, but I'm telling people to stay. And the reason I say yes, YouTube, is because as soon as I mention some keywords here, their AI puts giant buffering sign across my YouTube broadcast. All right, I'm only talking about safety here. All right? I'm not talking about using something for something. Right? So please take out the buffering thing. Going back to the situation here, water is important, and keep enough water. Don't depend on filling up your bathtub, and that's all the water you're going to depend on. No, you should have bottled water. All right. And right now, I guarantee you, even at this time in Tampa, there's probably people rushing those stores in Tampa. All right, and possibly I don't know what's going on exactly in Tampa because I'm not in Tampa, but possibly some of the Home Depots are open already, and people are going to be looking at this to preparing themselves. All right, so get yourself, if you're going to get supplies, try to get them early, because the longer you wait, the less supplies you're going to find. All right, so try to get water, try to get some canned foods, things, dry food. Rice is a great food to have. If you really want to live off rice, you probably could. The Vietnamese in Vietnam held one of the world's most advanced army just by eating rice. In some ways, a lot of them. All right, so if they can do it, I mean, it's not you kind of get bored with it, but rice and dry food and beans and this kind of stuff. The thing is, you want to be able to have some food in your stomach, anything that can keep the energy, don't got you starving, and to your next meal. But anything frozen like chicken, if you go through a hurricane and you have frozen food such as meat and chicken, that's what you're going to eat first. All right, whatever may be defrosting in your chicken, in your refrigerator, that's what you want to eat first. All right, you want to eat some of that first, cook it, and eat it. You don't want to, you don't want to go and start eating your dry foods and leave that stuff basically get spoiled in your refrigerator. All right, so you want to eat that stuff first. Like I said, going to the medication, elderly people should have a good supply of their medication. And if you're in Tampa right now, you should be thinking about getting some extra medication right now if you're an elderly person, because if this thing stays in that trajectory that is in right now, that is the actual trajectory of that hurricane. This is not something made up by me. That is an actual trajectory. It is to make landfall possibly not late, but early morning, Thursday morning. All right, and possibly as a Category 3. It doesn't mean it's going to be a Category 3. It still could be a Category 4. It could go below Category 3. We don't. That's as it gets closer, they'll know. Okay, what's going to happen? The waters in that area are still pretty warm in that area, and the hurricane could still get a lot more energy out of there. I'll be right back. I'm going to run myself a little break here, put a little music tune here, and I'll be right back on the other side. We're going to continue to talk about how to prepare yourself for an incoming hurricane. And especially if you're going to get hit by hurricane category 5, you really got to be prepared for that. All right, so I'll be back. Let me play this tune and I'll be back.
I've got the world on top of me, weighing down so heavily. Gonna fall eventually. There's no defying gravity. But you make me feel. But you make me feel indestructible, indestructible. Yeah, you make me feel it's not impossible. I remember in my youth thinking I was bulletproof, tired of making an excuse. I can't bleed and I can't bruise, but you make me feel. But you make me feel indestructible, indestructible. Yeah, you make me feel it's not impossible. And I've got no plan to reach out your hand and take me back to the start. When you're not around, my feet sink through the ground and send me strength right from your heart. You make me feel indestructible. Oh, you make me feel indestructible. Yeah, you make me feel it's not impossible. Cause you make me feel.
Okay, we're back here again. I'd like to thank the people that have been joining us here today. Make sure you, if you can, to hit the like and the sub if you can. This is a brand new channel that I put up. I've done a lot of broadcasting. This is not my first rodeo. I've done it quite a few times. And I opened up this channel thinking that I was going to do a talk show and do some music. And lo and behold, we got this hurricane going here. Let me turn this off here. And I've been talking today about preparing yourself for a hurricane. And this comes from experience, from me having my own experience with high category hurricanes, and also quite a few hurricanes that I've gone through in my life. All right, I am from Florida, and you know, if you're from Florida, you've probably gone through a major hurricane at one point or another. If you're in like I say, in the Tampa area, you should be preparing, especially tomorrow morning. You could say you should start looking at what is you're going to do. Now, I know some people tonight will be preparing. Some people will be looking for supplies. And the early birds get the worm. In this case, that's what it is. The early bird will get the worm. People will get some of the supplies that they want, and they'll find them. All right. Those that wait for the last moment are the ones that are going to be stuck in line, and they're gonna not only that, but they delay what they want. If they were planning and putting some kind of, if they don't have some shutters, and they're planning on putting some kind of plywood or wood on their businesses or home, you know, they're waiting for the last moment. They may run out of plywood, and they may run out of anything you can use to protect your windows. Even if you get hit by a Category 3 hurricane, it's still a strong hurricane. All right. Category streets can be quite strong. They could knock down a lot of trees. A lot of power lines can be knocked down. Stuff could fall on your windows, and flying debris could break your windows. And power outage will more than likely happen. All right. Anything into a Category 4, especially into a Category 5, is going to be disastrous. All right. I'll tell you that right now. All right. So get your supplies ready. Make a list of your supplies that you have. If you got kids, if you got babies, diapers are important. Baby formula is important, and other stuff for the babies. But don't forget, if there's any kind of medicine for fever, or for cough, or stuff like band-aids and stuff that you need in case you get a cut, or something goes wrong, have some kind of first aid kit. You should always have some kind of first aid kit in your home, and something to disinfect the wound if you get a cut. All right. The hospitals can become overwhelmed under a Category 5, after a Category 5. A lot of injured people could start heading towards the hospital, and of course, the worst people they're the ones who are going to get the treatment first. And you may be in line there suffering, and some hospitals may have generators, but still you'll probably be in line outside waiting, and to get in. It could be huge lines depending on how bad the situation got and how many people got injured. After a hurricane, many people get injured because they use power tools. All right. And other people drive around just out of curiosity, and things could happen. Trees could still be loose, and things could come down tumbling, and they could run into power lines. Never go into a power line that could be alive inside, especially in any kind of water, standing water. You could find yourself in some serious trouble. All right. For the most part, a lot of the Florida and Power Light, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll cut power to areas when they have a lot of transformers down, and possibly a lot of lines have gone down. That way, it will prevent houses from catching on fire, people from possibly electrocuting themselves. So power will go down. The likelihood of power going off if you get hit in Tampa is, you could say, about 100%. It more than likely will happen. You're probably going to run out of power. All right. So if you're depending on power for anything, you have some kind of machine at home that you have some kind of health issue, you should start already talking about where you're going to go, what you're going to do, because you may have to. It could be a threat to your life if you don't have power. All right, so keep that in mind also. All right, now people that have pool. Some people say, well, we'll take all our furniture, pool furniture. Now, I went through Hurricane Andrew and then several other hurricanes in pools. You may not want to throw your chairs and your lawn stuff inside the pool and think they're going to be safe that way. All right. Well, you may end up really screwing up your pool, because all that stuff, it turns into like a pina colada, like you're making a mixer, inside your pool, and it could cause a lot of damage to your pool. All right. Now, some people say, well, I drained half of the water out of your pool. Why are you doing that? I tell people, why are you draining half of the water out of your pool? The less water that's in your pool, the more of a chance you have of the pool popping out of the ground. If the pool pops out of the ground, you're going to have a serious issue. All right, it's going to cost you probably into the thousands of dollars to fix that, and you may end up losing your pool. All right, because there's no way keeping that pool down in the ground, and what happens? The ground gets saturated with water, and all that water pressure under the pool can pop your pool out if it's empty. So it may not be the world's best idea to take the water out of your pool, not even half of the water. Leave the water in your pool. As if it rains a lot, no matter what, it's going to really get full of water. It's not going to make a difference. Just leave the water in your pool. I did it in my pool several times. Leave the water goes all over the place. It's going to go all over the place anyway if you got a flooding event. Removing half of the water out of your pool, I don't know who came up with that idea. You run a chance of possibly popping that pool out of the water, out of the ground that is in, because the ground gets saturated with water, and it could pop it up. So it's not a good idea to do that. Now, parking your car, that's another one. Don't park your cars under massive big trees. Okay, a lot of those limbs could come down and destroy your car. Okay, so I remember I was in a Category 3 hurricane. I believe it was a Category 3 hurricane. Category 3, but I had very high winds. I was going through a lot, and it so happened I lived in a house during that time when that one hurricane came in, and it was like I was like at the end of the neighborhood. It wasn't a cul-de-sac. It was just like I was in the end of a road that made a T. My house was right there, and all that wind was being funneled straight at my house. All right, so my front door, I had a double door front door. It had two doors, so it was a double door. And they just wanted to break open. I had to take literally all my furniture that I had in my living room and plow that furniture right up to that door. If not, I would have lost both. If I would have lost those two doors, I more than likely would have lost a lot of stuff in my home, and it would have been damaged. That wind would have come in and really start tearing up the house. This was a category like a category 2, a category 3. Can you imagine a category 5? All right. If you're, like I said, living in a complex, not a complex, a condominium, the higher you are, the more dangerous it is, and you want to stay away from the windows. You don't want to never open up your window on a category. If there's a category 5 going over you on one of these complex on a high rise, because you literally could get sucked out of your apartment, and you're gonna go flying. All right, and unless you turn into a bird, you're gonna have a hard time. All right, so you don't want and the windows on a high rise. You'll be amazed how things work depending on where the wind comes. On a high rise, you may lose windows, and you'll see other parts of the high rise where the windows were not lost because the wind direction changes, or it's coming from an area that is not affecting the window, or the suction is not affecting the window on one side, but it is affecting the window on another side. All right, and an entire high rise can be gutted out. All right. Anything from like the fourth floor going up. And I was in a high rise, like I said before I went on break here, that I actually was on a mission to pull people out. This was in Miami-Dade. And we rescued quite a few people. And even the ground floor, the very ground floor, was having the sheetrock pop out. It was just popping out. It was being sucked. It was like somebody stuck a vacuum cleaner hose into this high rise and was beginning to suck everything out of it. All right, and the pressure was extremely low. It was your ears. You will feel like you're on a airplane or something. You'll feel this pressure in your ear. All right, so it's extremely dangerous. Never stay in a high rise, like I said. Going back to what you should do as far as generators goes and fuel. If you're going to have generators, never, ever, ever put a generator inside of a house or put a generator close to an open window of a house that has people inside. All that smoke, all that carbon dioxide could just end up floating inside your house and it could kill somebody. All right, bad idea. Make sure you put that somewhere where the fumes don't get inside your house. You're probably going to smell some fumes because that's the nature of that thing, and it makes a hell of a lot of noise. So generators will probably keep you up all night. You'll probably end up crashing out no matter what because your body gets to a point where it just crashes. You're done. All right, but generators, you try to use generators kind of sparingly. Don't try to leave the damn thing running the whole night long or something like that. You do what you're gonna do. Fix whatever the dinner you're gonna fix. If you need some power to fix some dinner, and you need some light for whatever you need it, but use it sparingly because you never know where you're gonna get the next fuel for your generator. If you don't have enough fuel, you just had a couple of gallons of fuel, you're probably gonna run out of fuel in a short time, and the generator just be sitting there as a hunk of steel, you could say. You're not doing anything with it. All right, so use it for some key things that you want to do. Turn off the damn thing. Let your neighbors sleep, and you get some sleep because that thing really can make noise. All right, now some people will go out as far as putting on their fan. Some people might even find a way to attach their AC to the generator. Kind of like foolish people. I've actually seen that during Hurricane Andrew, where people were putting their fans and somebody attached an AC to it and all this, and then in a couple of days they had ran out of gas. No more generator, and they were not cooling down. So, and they needed the generator for other stuff. They needed for some lighting at nighttime, whatever they were doing, maybe to heat some food up because they had some kind of a stove that might have been electrical or something. No, they didn't have it. Maybe it wasn't there. So you got to use your generator very sparingly. All right, don't just use it for everything. Conserve that. Anything like refrigerators, ACs, this takes a lot of amperage. and it's going to really burn your generator. It's going to really burn a lot of gas from your generator, and you're going to run out of gas in a short time. All right, what you're looking at there, that map is it's a map. It's actually, this is where the hurricane is at now, and where is it projected to make landfall on Tampa and around Thursday morning. Going back to what other stuff that you can do. Like I say, make sure you have a first aid kit. Make sure that it's well supplied. You got band-aids. You get all kind of cuts. You can get all kind of cuts from trees, from stuff that is down, broken glass. You should know something about maybe possibly stitching somebody in case they get a really bad cut that they could start a lot of bleeding. You should know how to something. You should always know something about that. Learn some stuff. Look, right now the power's on in Tampa. The power's on all over this place where it's possibly going to get hit by a hurricane. If your husband went to the store to get some plywood for the windows, or went to get some supplies, and you're at home, instead of eating your nails, go out there on YouTube and start looking at some of the survival stuff. Start looking at what you need for first aid kits, how to survive a hurricane, what is unique, what kind of equipment. If you're gonna do, if you get a cut, what kind of stitching you need, how to save your medication. You should always save your medication in some kind of zip bag. All right. Throw in your bottles in some kind of zip bag. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. Try it if you got multiple medications of the same medication, kind of divide it into other slip bags in case one of them gets gets sucked out the window or something. You still have other medication in other parts of the house. All right, so that's another thing you should think about. All right, so keep those items dry, all right, and keep the first aid kit, keep it dry, because if band-aids start getting wet and galls start getting wet, and first aid kit stuff starts getting wet because you had a flood in your house, this stuff is probably not going to be any good for you, and it could actually cause an infection if you actually put it on. So try to keep that stuff dry. Put it inside plastic. Anything like your wallets, anything that is like documents. Any kind of documents, pictures there's from the family. I know a lot of people after Hurricane Andrew, they lost a lot of their family's pictures. All right, a lot of their documents they lost, and a lot of paper. There was paper all over the place after Hurricane Andrew. Like I said, other hurricanes I've been through, all the same thing has happened. So what you do is you want to put that in some kind of plastic zip bag that is waterproof. Put a lot of those documents, a lot of those pictures, a lot of the first aid kits, stuff that you need to keep dry. Make sure they're dry, and keep them in an area that if the wind did get into your house or your condominium or whatever you're living in, that is somehow going to possibly survive. All right, it's not going to be sucked out, and you'll never see it again. All right, so that's another thing that you should be considering. All right. Keep some of your clothing if you because clothing can get damaged. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now, if your clothes gets wet, if you had an entire closet gets ruined and the clothes got all wet, the stuff could get mold in a couple of days, and especially if there's no power to clean it, and you got no way to get water to put some detergent on it and clean your clothes, you could have your clothes ruined. Trash bags. Get trash bags. Take your clothes and put it into trash bags. Make sure they're sealed really tight. Clothes that you need, like shoes, socks, dry stuff, underwears, whatever. Anything on undergarments, you could say. Throw that into a trash bag. And make sure that it's you can say well tightened, and it's basically like kind of waterproof. But be careful of the trash bag that you buy. If you buy a trash bag that is very thin, very cheap, it may break and water going to get in. Try to get yourself something that's hefty, and you throw it in there. Keep your trash bag. Keep your clothes inside of a trash bag. Keep it dry. Put it in an area. Closets are very good. I noticed when I went through Hurricane Andrew, and we were rescuing people out of buildings, we found a lot of people in their closets. This is the other place they were either in their closet or their interior bathroom. That's what they were in. All right, so and a lot of times these places can be a key place to hold out if you got no other option. You can't get to the stairway of a high rise. You can only stay there for whatever reason, and that's what you want to be is. In a high rise, usually the most strongest part of that building is that stairway. If you can get to the stairway, you could hunker down there. But I can say, if you stay in your apartment and you're in a high rise, especially if you're up above fourth floor, you're like a 6, 7, and going up to 8, 9, whatever, you can get sucked out. All right. But if you are somehow stuck there, all right, you can't get out of your high rise and you're like on the ninth floor, get into something interior such as your closet. All right. If you have a closet that's interior, or you have anything like a bathroom that's away from the windows, try to get into something like that where you can hunker down. Even if you have to get into the bathtub, get into the bathtub. And cover yourself with some heavy blanket or even your mattress if you can. All right, because this can protect you from debris. All right. Believe me, I've seen people don't do just about anything to protect themselves. When that wind starts breaking everything down, their apartment is sucking their apartments out the window. And people anybody like I say, in a trader, you're in some serious trouble if you decide to stay. If you're in a trader port and you decide to stay in your trader during a category 5 that's going to come directly over your head, you're suicidal. You're basically trying to commit suicide. That's what you're doing. All right. Your probabilities of surviving a direct hit from a hurricane on a trader, it's very low. All right, on a category 5. Now you may survive a category 3, maybe. Okay, you might be okay. You're still probably gonna have blown windows, and you're probably gonna have some damage and so on. But you should never try to survive a category 5 hurricane inside of a trader. It will implode. It will be like somebody stuck a vacuum cleaner to a window and just suck your trader out, and you see all the walls imploding. It will just literally implode, okay? And your trader that you bought nice and you had it all fixed up will look like a heap of garbage the next day. And hopefully you're not on that garbage as part of the garbage. Okay, you may end up losing your life there. All right. And it can be a disaster for you. I know there's a lot of elderly people out there that may not even have the family members to go to. Go to shelter. There's a lot of counties that will offer bus rides for free. They'll say, get on the bus for free and we'll take you to a shelter. You're better off with a shelter with people who are there who can maybe even help you with your medication or your needs than to stay all by yourself in a trader that's, especially in a category 5, that could implode all the way around you. You're going to have an extremely bad time. You may get lucky and somehow survive it, but there's a very high chance that you could end up in some serious health issues, problems. You could say something terrible could happen to you. All right. Hurricanes not only are coming in with this massive amount of wind, and like if you take Hurricane Andrew was not a wet hurricane. It wasn't a hurricane that had massive amount of water. It was more of a wind event. It was a very strong winds of 200 miles an hour, basically, is what you had gusting out there. You had telephone poles break like toothpick. And I remember there was an area in Miami called Metro Zoo, and it's still there. And a lot of the trees, they have these, I guess you call those ponderosa pines. I think that's what they call it. These very long, straight pines, broken like toothpicks. All right. And these are some thick, strong pine, and they were broken like it was no big deal. And in tennis courts, they had these really thick steel poles holding the fencing up, bended like somebody came, like some Superman came and just bended the pole, and cars thrown on top of the roof. All right, this stuff can happen. Category 5s, I'm telling you, Category 5 is nothing like it. As far as storms go, Category 5. It's extremely dangerous. All right, right now it is projected to be there more like a Category 2 hurricane, not a Category 5. All right, so we'll see what happens. I hope people, start preparing themselves for this stuff, because if not, they could find themselves in dire strait. All right, if you're like I say, if you're like in a trader park right now, if I'm an elderly person and I'm in a trader park in Tampa, especially in the path of this hurricane, basically Tampa is in the path, I will be trying to contact relatives that I can possibly go stay with and might have a home. All right. And if I can't find no relatives where to stay, then I will try to listen to the news where the nearest shelters are at to see if I can stay at one of the shelters. All right. because you definitely don't want to be in any kind of mobile home or any kind of like one of these very bad manufactured homes, very lightly manufactured home. All right, you don't want to be in that. Even homes that have or have actually manufactured pretty strong for hurricanes can suffer total disaster because the homes could be wiped out depending on how close they are to the shore, especially when water starts coming out from the ocean. When the storm surge comes in, it could be devastating to those homes. So that's something you can hear. I'm going to take a break here, and I'll be back right after this tune that I'm going to play. And we're going to continue to talk about this on what to do if you have to go, if you end up going through like a Category 5 or Category 4 hurricane, or even a Category 3. Okay, we're back here again. We're back here. If you guys are new to this channel, please, if you can, subscribe to the channel and give some likes. It will help with the algorithms. This is a new channel, but this is now my first rodeo when it comes to broadcasting anything. I've done a lot of broadcasts, for quite a couple years. But I put up this new channel, and we're supposed to be dealing with. It's supposed to be more like a radio channel where we play a little bit of music, a little bit of talk. I've been talking about the hurricane here. Basically it's a Category 5 hurricane out by the Yucatan Peninsula. It is turned into a Category 5. It's going to stay as a Category 5. Let me see. I guess it will stay as a Category 5, getting very close to to Tampa here, or to getting very close to Florida. It's projected then to get to turn into a Category 4, and then later on possibly to a Category 3 just before it hits Tampa. All right, I find that a little bit coincidental, you could say, that it turns into a Category 3 just before it hits Tampa. Uh, so it like it throws on the brakes. So I don't know about that. So we have to keep an eye on this, on how it develops in the next couple of days. It could be. They could say it could come in as a Category 3, but it may turn out where it comes in as a Category 5 or a Category 4, which could be devastating too. Or it could actually come in as a Category 2. You have to kind of. This is just a projector. It's just computer models making a prediction. Predictions are subject. They could change. Not all predictions are 100%. There could be other weather patterns, or the oceans could cool or heat up more, whatever the deal is, and could cause different reactions to this hurricane. The projected path of the hurricane, the people that forecast these weather systems have been doing a pretty good job in the last couple of years as predicting where these hurricanes will come, what areas they could come in. All right. If you're in the Orlando area, which is the central of Florida, if you're like the Orlando, Titusville, and this kind of stuff towards the center of Florida, you're okay, because it probably will come. If it's a Category 5 that comes in and hits Tampa, you might be okay. But let me tell you one thing. Hurricane Andrew came in through Miami, you could say, and it kept on trucking and went all the way across right through Florida, and it pretty much didn't lose too much speed. I think it was down to at one point to the Category 4, pretty much kept trucking as a Category 5. All right, so that's one thing to keep in mind. All right, so if Orlando right there at the area that was going to hit between Tampa and Daytona, around that area, that's like the widest part of the state. All right, so but still doesn't mean that if it comes in as a Category 5, it doesn't mean it's going to go right down to a Category 1. It may not. Some of these hurricanes can get very dense and continue with high speed. So you gotta be careful with that. It can sometimes play a fast one on you. All right, but we kind of hope it will come down. The speed will come down. It will start to break up, and it will lose that energy from the ocean, and then I'll be like a Category 1 by the time it gets out there by Daytona somewhere. All right, but still, if you're in the East Coast and if it stays strong, you got to be aware of that. You got to be prepared. And if you're in the Orlando area, now I lived in Orlando many years ago. The center of Orlando has a lot of trees. All right. A lot of very old trees. These trees go back hundreds of years. They're very old trees. In the center of it's very dense with trees in the center of Orlando. I'm talking about the city of Orlando. If a strong Category hurricane were to go through a Category 3 hurricane or something like that, will go through that area of the city of Orlando, you could see a lot of trees coming down. You could see a lot of branches coming down on people's homes and cars and highways and all kind of stuff, because there is a lot of trees in Orlando in that area. I used to walk to the Orlando Park. There's a park in the center of Orlando. That's how close how close I was to, you could say, the downtown area of Orlando. This is a very long time ago. I could literally just walk to the park, and it would only take me a couple minutes to get there. All right, but that whole area is very dense with trees, very old trees. All right, so if you're in that area, keep an eye on this storm. As it hits Tampa, keep an eye on it, because a lot of these trees could come tumbling down. A lot of the homes in that area are very old homes made out of wood. And you could one of those trees could easily pancake one of those homes. All right, so keep that in mind if you're in Orlando in one of these homes. All right, it could cause a lot of damage. So keep an eye on the whole pass, where the pass is predicted to go through, because it could really cause a lot of damage in all different directions. It causes a lot of damage there. All right. So going to how you're going to prepare for this, make a list of the items that you need. Try to estimate. If you got a family of 5 people, try to estimate the consumption of food for 5 people for a period of at least 1 or 2 weeks. All right. The government's can be kind of slow to react to these things. But here's the thing: is people criticize the government emergency rescue. They're not trying to hold. I don't think a lot of these agencies are trying to hold supplies from you. They really would like to get supplies out to you. But the thing is, they have a meeting to have a meeting to have another meeting. All right, but eventually they'll get there. It's like a train that takes a while to get going. It's a freight train with a lot of carts in it, and it takes a while sometimes to get going. But once it gets going, it's going to get going. All right. I tell people try to on these kind of hurricanes where you have like a Category 5, you might be on your own for 24 hours all the way up possibly to 72 hours. Who knows? You pretty much may only have the local police or local fire there, and I will say more or less sometimes like between 24 hours to 48 hours, or maybe even going as high as 72 hours. You might not have too much help. All right. Now, as because of what we have had up north with another hurricane that hit the panhandle of Florida, a lot of extra manpower from a lot of states that were able to send manpower to those areas are there. So if now you had another major storm hit, such as the Tampa Bay area, all right, those resources are kind of tied up north, all right. So it may delay some rescue, especially when it comes to power. Okay, restoring your power, because a lot of these trucks that they could put up the telephone poles and refix the lines and all that. These linesmen may be busy up in those 5 states that have been hit by this one hurricane. So we could be looking at a problem here for Tampa. There may not be a lot more resources. It may take a while because more people will have to come from further away, from other states or further away. And people coming into an area, a disaster area, it can be dangerous for them. All right. If you come by yourself, it could be very dangerous for you. If you're coming in a group of power linesmen, or people are going to lay down line and this kind of stuff, and you're coming in a convoy of 40 or 50 trucks, it's a lot safer. But you're still going to have to. A lot of times, you got to bring in your own supply, your own water. You got to kind of estimate how long you're going to be there, because you may not have those supplies. The last thing you want to do is depend on the locals for your supplies, okay? Because they could be desperate trying to get supplies. All right. So if you're going to come from another state, and you're probably going to be told to bring your own water, your own food, and your own stuff for the time you're down there, until they can organize with the military and organize with, and you could say, National Guards and other people that could actually give a hand in fixing things. The U.S. Navy, believe it or not, because Tampa is on the Gulf side, could then they may already be scheduling. They might be. I'm not saying they're doing it. They could be already scheduling some of their Navy ships to go into that area, try to get them in there after the hurricane has already made landfall and is heading out. Because the U.S. Navy has very large hospital ships. All right. If you got a lot of people that got hurt, these ships can assist. All right, and they could come there to the area of Tampa. And some ships also have generators that could also help. And there's some of these ships also carry a lot of supplies with them. All right, so you may have the U.S. Navy. If I was in I guess if I'm in the U.S. Navy and I don't work for the DoD, I will be planning already, or there should be already plans in the works of what ships might be going in that area. But you got to wait for the hurricane to basically get out of the way. The last thing you want to do is become a victim of the hurricane because you're trying to bring in some help. All right, so that's one thing that's probably going to help. If you have a lot of problems with looters, and you got a lot of problems with people doing nasty things, or causing problems, then it could happen like Hurricane Andrew, where we had the 183rd Airborne. They came to help. All right, and they came in and they set up shop, and they control a lot of the crimes that was going on during that time. Malls being ripped off, and all kind of people being robbed, and so on and so on. So that control a lot of the crime that's going on in the area. All right, so that could help. So there are stacks of help available, but they're only going to be brought in if the conditions will meet triggers bringing in these kind of people. You're not going to bring in 183rd or other units from the military if the situation is not that bad, it could be controlled by local police and possibly other state police that could come in there and national guards from the state. You're only going to bring in stuff like that if you actually you really have things out of control. All right, and they could then help. You have, the NGOs come in, like the Red Cross and other ones that will come in there with supplies and food and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes that little bit of food they give you is what you had the whole day. I remember when I went through Hurricane Andrew, I was so busy doing some of my stuff, helping people out. I had no time not even to go look for food. So we can get back to my place to see what I could eat. And I remember some of these Red Cross trucks coming in, having some frankenbeans, you could say, and a little bit of juice to drink. And that's what I had for the entire day, But it helped out. It gave me some more energy to continue what I was doing. And it was a welcome sight to see some people come in there and set up, bring some food. They have the military and other organizations have these portable kitchens. They can set up right away in mall parking lots, and you can have some food supplies, food there, hot food that you can get to with these portable chickens, very large portable kitchens that they can set up. Now, here's the problem again. Again, we'll go back to the same problem. Because of these 5 states being hit by this other hurricane, a lot of these resources may have ended up in some of these states. So things are going to be critical for Tampa. Resources you would have gotten during a normal hurricane hit, some of them may not be available to Tampa, or they may be slow in coming because it could be tied up north. All right, so Tampa, if you're in Tampa, you really should be prepared to at least have enough supplies for a couple of weeks for your family. Do an estimate on what you're going to consume. If you have a tight budget, try to get only the essentials that you need to live off, and try not to get a lot of the chips and dips and all this kind of stuff because you're not watching a football game. You're basically just trying to get some food in your belly to fill you up, and so you can move on to the next day until you get more food. All right, and like I said, water is very important, and anything stuff to drink is very important. And you need to stay also dehydrated. Yeah, hydrated. But if you don't, you could also find that you'll be in a lot of trouble. All right, that's stuff that you have to be looking at. So medicine is very important. Food and water very important. If you had your home blown away, your roof is gone, and your walls are gone, you could say, then you have to find shelter. All right, so you got to find a way to get into shelter. The military, or you could say National Guards and also NGOs can come in. Sometimes they'll set up tents, places you can live, temporary housing such as mobile homes. But sometimes that takes a while to set up and put into place for people to live. Sometimes the only place might be able to get into is some kind of shelter like a school and stay there. Hotels are going to be saturated right now with people from the other hurricane that hit the Panhandle. So there are going to be a lot of people already staying at hotels. So you might run out of rooms. There's no more hotel rooms. And if worst comes to worst, you have to stay in your home that the roof has gone away. There's no more roof. It doesn't mean the rain stops after a hurricane. It can continue to rain on and off, like normally it does in Florida. And you're going to have to find some way to have some kind of a tarp over your home, over your roof, or somewhere where you can stay out of the water, you could say, and stay in some kind of shelter. So shelter is important. Food, water, shelter are key things that you want to have in case of a huge disaster that a Category 5 could bring. You really want to have that. All right, it's very important that you have this stuff. If you have infants, if you have babies, if you have young kids, you have to make sure that they're well protected. They're going to experience, especially young kids. They're toddlers and kids are like they're 3 or 4 years old. They're going to see something that it's going to be with them all their life. So they don't know what to make out of it. Some kids actually take it quite well. I've seen kids actually, sitting there playing with some little toy and everything around them has been destroyed. So they kind of just go whatever. Kids are kids. But there are some other kids that could suffer some trauma or something from going through something like that. All right, so that's another one. You got to be careful where do you seek shelter at in your home once your home. If your home is falling apart, you're in some kind of mobile home, or you're in some high rise somewhere, or some home that so happened falling apart, the roof's falling apart. Be careful where you're at. All right. The roof could cave into you and cave in on you, and one of those joists could come down and bust your head right wide open. So be careful where you stay at. What you're staying at, and be careful what's coming through that roof, if anything. All right, and where you're going to be, in place, staying in shelter. Look at your house, look at your room where you're staying in, look at the apartment you're staying, and at least try to imagine that if things got really bad, where is it that you're going to go hide? Where is it that you're going to shelter? And you always got to get away from those windows, all right, or doors, or anything that could have a potential opening where the wind can come in. You have to get as far as you can. Get to the most interior part of your home, where you can possibly be safe. If you got a lot of clothes, they could actually become a barrier. If you get in, let's say you're in a bathroom and you got a lot of clothes surrounding you, this could actually stop some of the stuff from hitting you in the face, or it could actually kind of protect you. Like I said, put some of your clothing and some of your belongings, especially paperwork and stuff that you need, in some kind of plastic bag, something that's waterproof, some kind of waterproof container maybe, or something like that. And keep it in the area that you're going to be secure in. The last thing you want to do is put a bunch of stuff in plastic bags and put it next to the window. And it's pretty much the hurricane is going to show up. Hey, thank you for the new clothes. See you later. And there goes your clothes. So it's all gone. So keep that in mind. If you got pets, that's another one. I remember when I had 3 dogs, and it was a Category 3 hurricane. I think it was Category 3. And all the fence went down, and my 3 dogs needed to get out. They've been in the house already. My dogs didn't want to take they didn't want to take no leak inside the house or dump in the house. They were just used to being outside before taking a dump. That train flat, and they just wanted to get out. They were just dying to get out. Finally, I had to let them out, but there was no fence. So you got to make sure you have something to keep them on a collar. Not let them just run around, because the dog can get hurt. There could be a lot of glass on the lawn that you don't see, and the dog could get cut. And you cannot, during that kind of time, you're not going to be able to take possibly your pet to a vet. All right, it's possible you're not going to be able to. Your dog could bleed out. All right, so I always keep, also, if the dog has got some kind of medicine, keep pet medicines around, and keep your dog safe. Keep a leash. Keep some food for the dog. Don't just go and buy food for yourself and know that you may have to feed your dog, or your cat, or your whatever you might have. Keep some of that stuff around. Keep it in some kind of small closet, somewhere where you think anything happens, the food will be there. All right, so keep that also. Keep in mind the pets that you might have. If you're out in the farm, of course, that's different. You might have some other type of animals. You could have a cow. You could have goats. You could have chickens. All that stuff. As a farmer, the good thing about farmers is they're very resourceful people. They can really they know how to take care of their pets in case of emergency or something like that. All right, so they can take care of that, and hopefully there's nothing will happen to their animals. Farmland usually get a lot of times when hurricane hits, farmland, so the first ones to get flooded. All right, but a lot of these farmers, they can pretty much take care of their pets and this kind of stuff. So be careful with a lot of stuff, people. There's a lot of stuff you got to be careful. Hurricanes, the event itself is extremely dangerous, but the aftermath could actually be just as dangerous. A lot of people get hurt or killed after a hurricane, okay, because things happen. All right, so you got to be very careful with that. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a break here, and we're going to take a little bit of a music break and listen a little bit to a tune here. I've been out here already, I think we're going to 2 hours and about 14 minutes. So let me take a small break here and I'll be back.
You're stepping up from the rest. better feel the satisfaction. And at the end of the day, no one can stand in your way. Just listen, hear what I say. You know you gotta climb higher, climb higher. Let the fire burn brighter. Be stronger, go longer. Climb higher, climb
Okay, I'm back here again. And of course, we're talking about Hurricane Milton there. Heading towards Tampa. It looks like there's in a projected path towards Tampa. We just took a small break there, a little bit of music. And we've been talking about surviving a hurricane, what supplies and what you should do in case of a hurricane, stuff that could help you out. And it's coming from somebody who has experience with hurricanes and national disasters and other experience that could be vital to maybe share some tips with you that could be helpful for you. All right. Another thing that you may be considering doing, if you are, if a hurricane is definitely going to hit you, see it's going to hit you no matter what, and you still got power in your house, you may want to put up that freezer or refrigerator, put some power into it. I know you're going to be thinking, oh, everybody else does that, we're going to run out of power. Well, it is what it is, because the cooler that refrigerator is, and what you can do is also take some pots and stuff, put water in them, or some of these Coca-Cola plastic bottles or whatever. You put some waters in. You can put it inside the refrigerator, inside the freezer. All right, and allow that to turn into ice. You should do that around 24 hours before major hurricane's going to hit. You should have all that already in your freezers, or you have a lot of ice. All right, because the ice could keep anything in there from spoiling on you. All right, so you could have something, the whole ice. Sometimes I used to use the 2-liter bottles. Don't fill them all the way to the top, because the expansion of the ice. And what I did is, and then I put them in the freezer, and they'll freeze. All right. And then if the power went up, it's like saying you have ice inside your refrigerators. All right. Now, of course, keeping in, I'm talking about the freezer, not the refrigerator itself. And keep stuff that you want to freeze it in there. Keep it as cool as you can, because once the power goes out, the refrigerator starts losing a lot of the coldness, you could say, and stuff starts to defrost. All right. And if the power goes out, try to open the door of the refrigerator or the freezer as little as you can. All right. That way you can consume that coldness inside your refrigerator. So keep that one in mind. All right. To do that. Also, yes, stuff like toilet paper and other stuff, you may need some supplies of that. If you're one of those persons that kind of, you don't want to go out there to the middle of nowhere and wipe your rear end with somebody's banana tree leaves, then And you're just a person that gotta have toilet paper. Make sure you get yourself some toilet paper. Now I've seen it. Actually, during the last time that we had a little disaster having to do with some little something that went around that you had to get an injection for. You know what I mean? I don't want to say the word here because then I'm going to get a big yellow line here. Uh, People were rushing into the store and were hoarding toilet paper. All right, they had entire basements full of toilet paper. I mean, I don't know what it's up with these people, but that's another one. All right, so stuff like that, people, stuff that you need to like toilet paper, soap, and this kind of stuff. It's always good to keep bleach. It's important to disinfect stuff. Okay, and like I said, if you got water in your home, you got a carpet that's totally wet, and the water came up a couple inches in your home. It's just a matter of time before the walls start getting mold, and they could start getting that black mold, which could be toxic. And one way that I used, at least for me, one way that I ended up killing a lot of this mold was using bleach and water, where you put some bleach and then water in some kind of a spray bottle, and you can use that. You can also use a sponge to sponge the walls, but don't get them too wet because then it is sheetrock. A lot of homes in Florida have sheetrock, and if you put too much any kind of liquid on there, no matter what it is, it could basically turn your sheetrock into garbage. It's almost like putting water on cardboard. All right, so you got to be careful with that. All right, but that will kill off the mold. All right. Also, keep an eye on mosquitoes. That's another one you have to think about. All right, that after a major hurricanes, you get a lot of puddles all over the place, and mosquitoes. Well, you'll see a lot of mosquito. You'll see a lot of mosquito problems, and if you're like in Tampa, mosquitoes could be blown in your direction coming from the Everglades, you could say, because that's what happens. You got a lot of mosquitoes in the center where you have a lot of lakes and ponds, and these mosquitoes could start coming toward the coast. Normally, you have a lot of, you have some kind of people out there trying to control the mosquito population, but these people are going to be busy probably with the same problem you have. All right, so mosquito stuff to propel the mosquitoes and stuff that you can put on your clothes to keep the mosquitoes off of you. It can be very uncomfortable after a hurricane, extremely uncomfortable. Especially most of the time that I got in a hurricane has been like, at the hottest point of the year. It's been like August and July and this kind of stuff, where things have been really hot. You could say. In not July, like August, mostly like around August, you could say. And you want to get some. I wanted to get some sleep, and you can. You open the window, then every mosquito in town comes through that window. If you close the window, you're suffocating in it, and then of course in Miami, you feel like sometimes you're living in, like I was living in Miami, like if you're living in like in a swamp sometimes because the humidity goes through the roof, and it can be very uncomfortable conditions to live in. All right, and then the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of mosquitoes eating your life. All right, so but you gotta be careful with mosquitoes. Some mosquitoes do carry diseases and all this kind of stuff, and you gotta be careful with that. All right, and you should be able to have something that you can protect yourself with against mosquitoes, especially little kids, toddlers, and small kids. Mosquitoes can really do some, really a lot of, bite the living hanging out of them. So that's another one there. Keep your kids entertained. You have small kids. They don't understand what's going around. They don't understand what happened. They don't understand why they have no power, why they can't put on their PlayStation, why they can't, go outside and play. They don't understand it. Don't allow your kids to go outside and play. All right. There's not only there is the situation with the conditions of possibly the limbs have falling off trees. There's glass all over the place. There could be power lines. There could be all kinds of stuff. That's dangerous enough, you could say. But then there's the humans factor. All right. So there are some devious a-holes out there that could take advantage of the situation. And before you know, your kid's missing. That's the last thing you want to do. Keep your kids close by. Your fence went down, and you're in a home with a couple of kids. Don't allow these kids to go outside. All right, you keep. I know they're going to be frustrated. They're going to be inside the house. Find things for them to do. Keep them away from any kind of fire or anything that they can get in trouble with. Keep them away from any standing water or pool. Don't allow your kids to play in standing water, people. How many times have I seen that one? Where the kids out there, swimming around in a flood zone. There could be a manhole cover that is open, sucking in water before you know your kid's gone. You don't know that. All right. There could be something under that water that you don't see. There could be a giant piece of glass down there, or some nail sticking up, and your kid's running around having fun in this water, standing water. That's a bad idea to be running around standing water. Very bad idea. Keep your kids inside. Try to find a way to keep them entertained inside as you go through the crisis. Manage your crisis. Don't panic. Panicking is not going to get you any kind of results. Okay, panic is mostly you got to cool down. Manage your crisis. If you're parents of some kids, stay cool. Don't argue with each other because kids feed on that and they get panicky too. So stay cool and do things with a cool head when it comes to this kind of stuff. Lighting can be an issue at nighttime, and if you use a lot of batteries for flashlight, that's going to last you so long before you run out of batteries. All right. I don't know how many batteries I ran through because I was doing stuff too on flashlights, and I had all kind of flashlights. And sometimes the best thing you do is if you at least for me when I was gone through Hurricane Andrew, I was single. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a family, and I could sit there at home with an open candle, knowing that I was not going to drop it or some kid's going to come and knock it over and the whole house is going to get on fire. All right. So candles can help quite a bit, and it's nice to have a little bit of light inside the house, especially if you're going to sit down and have some kind of dinner or eat something and kill some time, and have that candle go into the bathroom, whatever the deal is. All right. But they're extremely dangerous. If you have an open candle and especially if you got kids and somebody knocks that candle down and it hits a curtain or something that can catch on fire, your whole house could burn down. So you might have a hard time getting even the firemen to come out there and turn off your fire. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go and put a little bit of the music here, and I'll be back with a little bit more commentaries.
Been broken, beaten down. Tasted dirt as I hit the ground. You were there through it all. How far you gonna go before you know what you should have known all along? Now at last I can fall into your waiting arms, waiting arms. I'm headed straight into your waiting arms. I'm headed straight into your waiting arms. You live like a drop of rain, love like a hurricane. Now you're home, in the place you should be. Don't let me go again. Can't wait until I spend every day making lifelong memories inside your waiting arms, waiting arms. I'm headed straight into your waiting arms. I'm headed straight into your waiting arms. I'm
Okay, we're back here again. Alright, I've been talking about different things on how to survive, you can say, or how to handle a hurricane. I was talking about a little bit about if you have kids, to be careful with your kids after a hurricane, and during and after a hurricane. And during a hurricane, keep the kids close by. Do not let them be looking out the windows. Any object could go through your window at any second. If the hurricane is extremely close to you, stay away from the windows as much as you can. Now I know you want to hear something falls outside. You hear some big bang or whatever outside. Your first instinct is to go out and look out through the window. But you got to be careful because something could come flying through that window, and if you get glass in your eyes or something busts you over the head and you get an extreme cut or something, you're bleeding, you're going to have a serious case. And let me tell you don't want glass in your eye. That's definitely, you don't want that. So stay away from windows. You should, if a hurricane, it's definitely going to hit you, you should cover your windows with some kind of heavy blanket or something like that. Something, or close at least the curtains in your window. Because if the glass breaks, it could catch some of that glass from entering your home, or maybe even, getting in your eyes. All right. So that's one thing. Like I stay away from windows during that time, and definitely keep the kids away from the windows. You don't have to be looking at everything out the window every time you hear a big sound, a big bang, or something like that. There's going to be a lot of noise during a hurricane. I remember that I basically lost my voice after Hurricane Andrew, at least for quite a few hours. About an hour after Hurricane Andrew was pretty much was already passing Miami. I basically had no voice. That was my voice was pretty. So you have to yell and scream during the whole time trying to communicate to people, because it sounds like you're in a freight train. All right, extremely loud, and you can barely hear anything because of the wind. All right, and I couldn't. My voice was screwed up for quite a while. But then I got my voice back. But that's things you're gonna have to be keeping in mind. All right, you're definitely gonna have to keep in mind. Try to keep also your communication device and your hardware stuff like laptop computers, cell phones, and all this. Try to keep these inside something waterproof, whether it be some kind of zip bag, or some kind of plastic bag that you can make it waterproof, because these things get wet and you're going to lose them. They're going to be gone. If they get wet, they get damaged. There goes your laptop, or there goes your cell phone, or whatever the deal is. Even those big giant. A lot of people have these big TVs in their homes. Be careful if you are going to wrap your plastic around and try to make it waterproof. Be careful, because if you drop the TV, you're going to break it. And a lot of those TVs have a very thin glass on them that can be broken really easy. All right. Be careful also the way some of those TVs you cannot lie down flat. You could damage them. All right. So make sure that you look up instructions on how to move your TV, or how to secure your TV. That could be some of this information could be available online. All right. So all electronics should be kept somehow. You should wrap those up to save damage, especially key stuff like computers, cell phones, anything for communication. That you may have wrapped that up. Medicines and stuff like that should also be wrapped up. You should be preparing for, even you may not get flooded. There may be no wind event in your home. Maybe the thing turns right or left or whatever. But if you did get prepared and something did happen, you're gonna say, "Well, I'm glad I prepared," and nothing happened. And then something did happen. I mean, nothing happened. Something happened, and I was able to save my equipment, my phones, and my stuff. All right, those are key stuff. Now your cell phone may not work, and there may not be no internet. All right, after a hurricane, towers go down. Cell system can go down too. Power, you may, and if they do work, maybe they'll work for a little bit. Your batteries may go dead. You may not have power to even power that up. So you got a lot of this stuff. But try to keep your equipment safe, And also keep your equipment in an area where if somebody was to break into your home or something like that, they won't have a hard time finding it. All right, to take it, to take your equipment. All right, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no equipment that you have possibly in your home that's worth dying over. If a burglar walks in there and points a gun in your head and says that they want to take your laptop, hey, have fun with it. You know, as long as they don't take your life and your kids are safe or your whole family is safe, whatever the deal is, let them have it. It's not worth it that you die over something silly such as a cell phone, a laptop, or your Xbox or PlayStation, whatever the deal is. All right, but to prevent a lot of these problems, if you kind of move it out of with somebody, if somebody did break into your house, they don't see it, and maybe you can tell them I don't have it, and they won't be looking for it. And a lot of times these burglars in these kind of situations are just moving pretty fast home by home. All right, so there'll be nothing there for them. So just put them in somewhere safe, dry, that you can keep them. And anyway, you're not going to probably be using a PlayStation or a computer or a cell phone after a hurricane if the internet is down or if there's no power. You're probably not going to be using none of this unless you got a generator and some way to get internet. You might end up using it. So you might have to put them in a storage place. Keep it stored. Keep it away from the public, and don't be putting it in an area where if somebody breaks into your house, they can see it. All right. You should not stay home alone. If you're somebody that has kids, let's say you're a family, and your husband or wife is going to go out to find some kind of supplies or food or whatever the deal is, and you don't want to take your kids in that kind of environment. You probably want to stay home with somebody. You should stay home there, but if you got some kind of neighbor or somebody close by, you should inform them that you're there. If you can trust them, that you're there by yourself with your kids and to keep an eye on things, because the last thing you want to be is be in a house with a couple of kids and some intruder breaks in and you're defensive. You might not be able to defend yourself or your kids. So keep that in mind. Or if you're an older person, you want to make sure that your neighbors or people around you know that you're there, and you may have some health issues. All right. So if anything goes wrong, make sure that you should know what your blood type is. Should know key things about your medical history that you can either write on paper, put it in some kind of plastic, okay, some kind of zip-on plastic. Something happens to you that you get knocked out, something hit you over the head and you got knocked out. Responders may find some kind of something on your pocket or something that has information about your blood type, your condition, your health problems, or whatever the deal is, or what medicines you're taking, so they could help you out. So that's something you should keep in mind. All right, that could help out. So there's a lot of stuff you could do to prepare yourself. And I was trying to cover the thing about candles. If you can have candles, as long as you're very safe with candles, you keep them away from any curtain that could blow on it if there's air or something, wind coming through. Or keep it with some kid or dog. Even a dog can knock down one of your candles, and before you know, the whole house is on fire or something. All right. So be careful. Then be careful with some of these special candles, some of these specialty candles. I remember one time I was overseas and somebody gave me a specialty candle, and it had some like little bits of incense in it, something in it, and that whole candle caught on fire. and actually, a friend of mine. I didn't know it was on fire. I fell asleep, forgot the damn candle was on, and I never seen a candle catch on fire anywhere. And I was sleeping, and I heard a knock at the door, and as I was looking to the door, I looked away towards the TV, and the damn candle's on fire. I go, holy shit! I mean, if my friend would have probably taken a little longer, maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you, okay? Because he's the one that I was sleeping. I had no idea that candle, and it's because it had some kind of a chips inside, some kind of wood chip or some kind of incense chip. They caught on fire. All right, and the whole candle was actually on fire. So that's things you have to be aware of. Keep candles in a safe place. Sometimes what I do is I'll give me like a plate, put some water on it, and put a candle in the center of it. So if it tilts over, this water right there, and maybe it will distinguish the candle. All right. So that's some ideas you can probably work with. Food safety is very important. Keep your stuff clean. Uh, Roaches can be a nightmare after a hurricane, after any kind of disaster. Bugs can be a nightmare. Uh, if you leave any kind of food around or trash, they're going to come. And Florida is prime territory for these kind of insects. All right, so keep that in mind. That if you have any leftovers and you're going to throw them away, make sure your garbage is sealed. Put them inside, seal them with nothing get into it. And try to prevent any kind of these insects uh, from getting into your food or getting into your house. So keep an eye on that. And there's also, when you have flooding, you got a lot of snakes sometimes come out. All right. And they could be in the water. That's why you should keep your kids away from standing water and or playing inside flooded areas, any kind of flooded area. You could have water moccasins out there, and all these other stuff out there that they could kill somebody or hurt somebody really bad. All right. Animals are also looking for the high ground, and they could be going inside your house too. So that's another one: is keep your sliding glass windows closed if you still have windows, and be aware that snakes could find a way inside the house. If you're in somewhere like close to the Everglades or something like that, somewhere where there's a lot of land, especially in Florida, where you could have issues with snakes and even alligators. You could have issues with alligators. There are places where you have alligators. I have a relative of mine that lives in a trader actually by a lake, and there's alligators in that lake. There's a couple of alligators, small ones, but they're there. And those alligators, if the lake does flood, are going to be out about. They're going to be, wherever the water is at, they're going to be out about. So be careful with that, with those kind of stuff. All right. So, and if you're armed, that's not one. If you are armed, if you're carrying some kind of weapon or something like that, and I'm probably going to get a big yellow bar now because I mentioned weapons. So far, I haven't got it, but I might get it. But if if you're in a building or in a house somewhere where you do have a weapon, remember weapons are good, but they also can, if you don't know what you're doing, they also can be used against you. And let me tell you, even professionals can suffer big problems with weapons. I won't mention, but there was an incident at one time in Miami after Hurricane Andrew having to do with weapons. That some, you could say, so-called professionals got themselves in trouble. And it wasn't because they were perpetrating some kind of crime. No, they got in trouble because they were the victim of the crime and they had weapons. All right. So that's something you got to keep in mind. Keep yourself secure. Keep if you're going to have weapons, make sure that they're secured. And if you got kids, make sure that the kids. I'm the kind of person, if I got weapons, I got kids around, I'm going to teach them about the weapon, to respect the weapon, what the weapon does, and maybe even take them out to the gun range. All right, because they should learn what it is in order to respect it. Some people want to keep their weapons completely away from the kid, and the kids don't even know what a weapon does, how much harm it could do. And once they're at a gun range or something like that, and see what a weapon can do, realize the power of a weapon. There maybe be more safety conscious than a kid that never seen their dad or mother shoot a weapon. All right. So if you're going to have weapons in the house, kids should know what is it that you have, and it should respect weapons. I was always taught from a very young age by my dad, you could say, who had weapons, that to respect weapons. And I never had really any kind of incident unless I went overseas and things were, things get heated up. You end up in some situations, but that's something else. But weapons can be good to keep you safe, or it could be dangerous. They could actually cause bombs. If you're a person with a hot head and you don't know how to control your temper, you should not have a weapon. It could cause a situation. And if if a hurricane goes by and something happens, and somebody decides to rob you or something, and they got a weapon, whether it be a knife, whatever it is, it's nothing worth dying for, really. As long as you have your health and your kids and your family, whatever, yourself, whatever, keep yourself safe. You know, that's what you got to do. All right. They want your supplies or they want your food or whatever. Keep it safe. All right. You know, weapons are good. They're usually good for deterrence and this kind of stuff. But you understand, sometimes these burglars, people committing crimes, could have weapons too. All right. So be careful with this stuff. All right. And like I said, keep them in a safe place. And it's a lot of stuff you got to think about. And like I say, everything you got to think about. Cars, even cars, your cars could get damaged, broken into. Tree limbs could fall on top of it, and all kind of things could happen to your car. Be careful. I remember one time when one of these hurricanes I went through. A friend I had, I guess it was a tree limb that fell on top of his car. He basically was driving in a car that was a convertible, but wasn't a convertible, if you know what I mean. The roof got taken out somehow. Or he ended up having to cut the roof out because a tree has fallen into his car and the whole thing was almost flattened. Okay, he was still able to run on the car. It was kind of funny the way the car looked because the roof was cut off. And you know that car came with the roof. It was not a convertible. You know, but and the glass was broken. But it was the only way he could get around. All right, at that point, I mean, you'll see some weird stuff happening. All right, after a major hurricane. Now, here's another one. If there's a major hurricane, it may take weeks for power to be restored. It may take months, maybe depending on the area you're in and how well connected you are. It could take a long time before you're able to get into any kind of normal home, you could say, where you could live. There'll be a lot of people waiting to get into traders, possibly from FEMA, whatever the deal is. People to find some kind of permanent shelter, or at least some temporary shelter that at least resembles a home. But there'll be a lot of people still living in these broken down homes. All right. And I always find it a little bit offensive when the city goes out there right after a hurricane and start giving out all these warnings to people that they have to vacate the property because of damage to their homes. Where they're supposed to, if the city's going to do that or the county's going to do that, then you better have another piece of paper that instructs the person where to go for shelter, all right, so they can stay with their family. Don't just go over there and put a big red nasty poster on their door if they have a door still, and tell them that you cannot vacate this home. You have to exit the home. They may have nowhere to go. All right, so that's something that that I hope that some of the government agencies, they got to be aware of this stuff, and homes and traders and all this. This is very important. The government a lot of times keep a lot of traders for this kind of events, temporary houses, homes, you could say, mobile homes in different parts of the United States. All right, and they move this around when there's an emergency. So we hope that that's the case. But when you had a major emergency, a major crisis happen like up north, like we have had now with a hurricane they already hit in that area, and now we have a potential another major hurricane about to hit Florida, then the resources get stretched out. You get kind of thin with resources. So I'm going to cut my broadcasting here at this time. I've been here almost 3 hours, blabbering away. I hope you guys can enjoy this show here and give thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. All right, will be highly appreciated. It's a brand new channel, but it is now my first broadcast channel. I've done a lot of broadcast channels. All right, this is more like a new channel for me, and I hope you guys can help out with the subscription and also giving likes because it helps out with the algorithms and it moves the channel. But I will continue to monitor this hurricane and continue. Tomorrow I'll probably do another show pretty much covering the same thing I covered today, and talking more about it and see how close this thing is getting to us and see if there's any new update. And maybe we'll do another 3 hours, 2 hours tomorrow. But I hope that you guys can show that you like the show by just giving some thumbs up and possibly even sharing the channel with other people. And also, like I said, subscribing and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, thank you guys. Stay safe out there. Stay out of trouble. If you're in the Tampa Bay area or within the strike zone of this hurricane, keep an eye on it. Hope for the best that this thing doesn't hit in a high category, that it hits in a low category, and it's something that will not cause a lot of damage. And I will do what I can to give you as much tips as I can from my own experience in dealing with these hurricanes. And hopefully some of these tips could actually help you out. So anyway, God bless, and I will let you guys go. Have a good one. And thank you guys for coming out here and listening to my show today. Bye-bye now.